Oh, Van Forest was in Minnesota for some.
Oh, was he up in Alexandria, Detroit Lakes?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know.
This is Dr. Scott Keith, Executive Director of 1517 and author of Being Dad. I'm excited to introduce my new book to you called Being Family, Passing Down the Faith Through the Generations. This book is for husbands and wives, parents and children, grandparents and neighbors. It shows how faith is formed and sustained in the life we share together. Drawing from Scripture, the Lutheran tradition, and lived experience, I challenge the assumption that marriage and family are secondary for faithful Christians. Instead, I call parents to teach their children that marriage, raising children, and daily family life are central arenas of Christian vocation. This book is not a manual of parenting techniques. It is a theological guide to help families recover a faithful vision of marriage and home, one rooted in repentance, forgiveness, and love, trusting that God is at work through these ordinary vocations as He shapes the next generation. For more information or to pick up your copy, see the show notes in this episode description or visit shop.1517.org. Again, that's shop.1517.org.
Very nicely done.
Hello, everyone. Hello, my friends. 100,000 welcomes to you today. This is the Banned Books Podcast, a member in proud standing of the 1517 network of podcasts. Go to 1517.org for all of your gospel needs. Go order Scott Keith's new book, Being Family.
Pre-order. Ships in May, I think.
Right.
Or April.
And also, outside of 1517, go order Gawain and the Green Knight, Malcolm Geit's new edition of that story,
Also ships in April.
written as epic poetry, couplets. Go get Liturgies of the Wild by Dr. Martin Shaw, one of my teachers, which I think, I was just watching something yesterday with him, a podcast he's on, and the man said, if I had read this when I was 17 or 18 years old, I would have been led to Christ through this book.
Yeah.
And
So he writes the book you wish he had read?
Essentially, well, as Martin said, it took me 30 years to write this book, ultimately, really. And it took him 3 years to actually write the book, like in actual fact, right? It took him over 3 years because, like we were talking about before we hit record, you have to sit with this. And not only do you sit with it for decades, but then when you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write. And then it's, well, you're not going to write this like the other books you've written. You're not going to write 3 books this year or 2 books this winter. You're going to take your time with this. And the reason is, of course, not only time and experience comes into play with this, but also what's being said and how it's being said. And because I've listened to other authors like Ursula K. Le Guin and so on who talk about writing, saying there's some stories that just come out of you because they're of that time and they just seem to like flow out and you're done, right? Versus there's other stories you have in you and you know they're there and you know that they're waiting to be written, but they're not ready yet. And you have to wait for them. You don't force it.
Right.
And as Martin taught me, you never stop a story halfway. Stories get offended when you stop in the middle. And so you don't just casually throw out a story and say, well, I'll come back tomorrow. You have to court it. You have to marry it. And you have to invite it. You can't impose. And so it's not vampiric. It's not a parasitic relationship. It has to be one of love and affection and
you've
honor.
described, his like speaking tours.
Yeah.
Where, he's telling the same story.
Right.
But it's not the same.
No.
And he probably doesn't write it down until the end of the tour.
Correct. Because he's already told it for years or decades sometimes before he does it publicly. Because he has his retreats, for example, or he'll have a men's group. And then when he tours it, it's because now it's ready to be told publicly. And so when he told us, our class, the story of Parsifal, it was 10 hours because that's what the time was. We had 10 hours, but he'll do 2 weeks on the same story, depending on the context and where he's at. And so, yeah, if you have 2 weeks to tell the story, he'll take 2 weeks to tell the whole story.
Wow.
Now, it's the same story, but it's the telling of it that matters then at that point.
Right.
And so he's not reciting it from a book. He's imagining the story. And it is the story of Parsifal and the Grail. Nothing about that changes. It's not innovative. There's no monster boxes or
Do you mean
clever
like
twists.
the broad brushstrokes or the...
Well, it's
particular details or.
well, a great story. If I told you the story of Odysseus, for example,
Mhm.
there are certain story beats that you expect. Like if there's no Cyclops, if there's no Lotus Eaters, if there's no strapping him to the mast, if there's no
Mhm.
bow and arrow at the end of the story, you'd be like, well, that's certainly based on the book, but it's not the actual story. I just watched the PBS Masterpiece 8 episode Count of Monte Cristo series. Great miniseries. I loved it.
Okay.
But it was definitely adapted for modern audiences at certain points. Versus
And
Alexander
that's not necessarily telling the story.
it's not because what you're doing. So Alexander Dumas is a great example. That's why I use him. Is when you read Dumas, Man in the Iron Mask, Count of Monte Cristo, Three Musketeers, kinds of things. The books are action movies.
Mhm.
Like, they're page turners. He
Right.
he was a master at telling like a story that kept you like gripped. So there's really no reason to add to his stories for today's audiences because the stories themselves are almost timeless. They're mythic.
Hmm.
And they grab you and they move and there's character development and world building within it, but it does like you read the Three Musketeers and that book moves. You're done with it before you even realize you're into the story. And there's this just sense of joy and rapture when you're reading Dumas. And yet the modern scriptwriter says, well, we have to add a lesbian subtext to this, or we have to add,
Right.
something about colonization to this. It's like, no, you don't. Because I don't know if you're aware of this, but Alexander Dumas wasn't a white guy. you know? And so
Just at the fundamental level.
at a fundamental level, if it wasn't important to him or it was important to him, just let the author tell you, hey, these things matter to me. It's also what made the story great. And the story is great because it's also based on all these other stories I've heard that came to me from the past. And again, like Martin says, all the great myths were told 5,000 years ago. There's this strange occurrence, like about 5,000 years ago, they just start showing up in mass.
I wonder.
And I know it's crazy. And so when you read a Dumas, for example, you don't need to improve on it. It's already great. Just tell the story. And this is, in the present tense, then Hollywood has the term toxic fandom. What does that mean? Well, the fans say, listen, if you're going to adapt this, be faithful to the original story. And then they don't. And they feel betrayed because these are literate fans. And they're saying, listen, what made the story great is all of the things you took out or altered about the story. So again, pre-modern civilization said a great story is telling the same story over and over again, but the storyteller is the thing that changes. So maybe I tell the story of Beowulf and I spend 5 days on Grendel and the Meat House and the arrival of Beowulf. Whereas you tell the story, you tell the exact same story, but you're wrapped up in when Beowulf fights Grendel's mother under the lake. And so you spend 2 days just talking about that.
Yeah.
Or somebody else tells it and says, I just want to focus on the dragon and the cup at the end of the story and the death of Beowulf. So I'm not going to speed through the first two parts of this. We'll spend time with it, but I'm going to spend a week with the death of Beowulf. It's the same story. It has the same beats, but it's how you tell it.
Yeah.
It's in the imagining of it, right? That's what makes a great storyteller. It's also what makes a great preacher, not coincidentally, which is every time the gospel comes to you, he says, today this is what you're going to speak to. And the more you're in it, the deeper you are, the more experience you have with it. And you know this, I can, like this Sunday's text, I'm preaching on Abraham and the sacrifice, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? Yeah.
Yeah. Old Testament, right?
And my dad died in February, and I'm dealing with the fallout and the consequences of that. And so, of course, I'm drawn into the sacrifice of Isaac and the words, God will provide, right?
Yeah.
And the deepening of that through being a son. And now my father's dead, which means now I'm officially a man, according to Robert Bly. And so now what does that sound like in my ears?
If anything, out of necessity, right?
Well, yeah, all of a sudden I'm the patriarch.
Right.
And his foot is off my neck. So then I can see the horizon now. There's nothing obstructing my view. And I'm not in his shadow. So now the question is, okay, if you're not that, what are you? Who are you? What horse are you riding? Is your pot, is your gold full? And can you bless or can you only receive blessing?
Right.
And so when you preach on it, the gospel tells you what you're going to say. You don't tell it. As a young preacher, and even in 2020, for example, I was forcing the text to say what I wanted it to say.
Yes, I think think we tried to point that out, but
And you definitely will draw people in with that because you're saying something that other people want to hear too.
I mean
But
that was
yet,
always the question because we,
hmm
when we first met, it was preach
hmm
the text, right, with the famous
right.
meme, and but at times you get away from that, and you're like, well, this
hmm
is what the Lord gave me to say today.
hmm
Like, well, that could be true,
Right.
but is that the place?
Right. hmm
Or is that do you need another forum where you can
Well, that's
address?
the wilderness wandering. That's the lost of it. Is I know I'm in the woods. I know what a tree is. I know what a woodslet
Hmm.
is. I know what the pattern of woodland behavior, so to speak. But that doesn't mean you're not lost, right?
Right.
You can be an experienced mountaineer and still fall off a mountain. It
Yeah.
happens
Yeah.
because there's things that you can't plan out. There's things you can't predict about it, and so when you're lost, you are moving, right? You're again anima. You're animated. The spirit is moving, but the soul isn't at rest.
No.
And that to me only comes again through making art of failure, through the deepening of the person by the Spirit of God and by saints and angels and by the vocational experiences of bearing crosses. And then through that grace, as odd as that seems in the moment, because you're definitely, the limp, the Jacobin limp, is there with you when you're lost in the woods and you run into your sagoons, these widows holding their dead husbands, and you run into these madmen and you run into these other people who are lost. And you ask like, hey, do you know the way out? And they're like, yes. And then they just walk away. And you're like, but could you maybe, and they're like, no, you don't belong here. And you're like, I know, show me the way out. And they just kind of leave you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because even if they told you the way out, you'd still get lost on your way out because it's not time to, again, you can't find by an act of will what's given by grace. And so if you're lost because God said you're going to wander for 40 years. And in that, there's a grace because that's where sanctification, that's purification is. We got to shed some skin. we gotta capture some feathers. Like we got to give you flight.
Right.
And the only way to do that ultimately is through failure. And especially
Well, I mean,
when,
we call it failure. I don't.
Mhm.
Is that a fair definition?
well, it is in the sense of you didn't ask the one question of the wounded king, which is, can you heal me?
Hmm.
Instead of, hey, can you show me the way out? That's not the question. The question isn't give me a map, show me the way out. The question is, can you heal me? I can live in the woods or I can live in the town so long as I'm healed and whole. But as I've said before, in prison ministry, I would say this to men. If you're a prisoner in prison, you're going to be a prisoner once you're pardoned, and you're going to end back in here in some way. But if you're free in prison and then you're pardoned, you'll be free on the outside too. The only thing that changes is your address.
Yeah.
And I saw the guys that I ministered to. Some were prisoners on the outside. They went back to jail 7 times in one instance. And then another guy, he was in for 23 years. He should have been institutionalized, but through the absolution of Christ, he left prison and just continued doing what he was already doing in prison, which was helping other people and teaching other people and helping other people rehabilitate their lives and improve. The only thing that changed was his address.
Hmm.
And so when he apologized to me after getting out of jail, he's like, I kind of have to leave that. I'm like, no, you crossed a river, man. You're on the other side of a threshold, and I can't cross with you.
Right.
I'm a part of Laban's farm. I'm not a part of whatever Esau has waiting for you on the other side
That
of
is
the
kind of the
jacket.
problem. Always trying to go back.
Right.
What was it? I've remarked on this a few times, but it's so astounding to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's Joshua, right?
Mm-hmm.
As to me and my household will serve the Lord. Everybody has
Yeah.
that like as a laminated thing on their wall.
Yeah.
But right before that, he's like, put away the gods of
Mm-hmm.
Egypt and the gods of
Mm-hmm.
the gods of on the
Right.
other side of the river. I mean, he's talking about that they're still carrying, as
Right.
Sarah brought the gods out of from the Chaldeans.
Yeah.
They're still carrying them through 400
Right.
years in Egypt. I mean, these gods never go away, in other
Right.
words.
So in the cycle, so to use this again, so when Parsifal goes back to your point, he finds that the land is in ruin and nothing is as he remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was that way originally. It was that way, but he had a child's view of the world.
Ah, right.
And then he
It's
goes
like the
off
Christmas that you always
and he comes
imagined.
back
Yeah.
as now he's married and he's been through adventures. He's killed people. He's wearing another man's armor and riding another man's horse. And he goes back, and as he's going through these places, he's like, "Wait a minute, I know you. What do you look at? Oh, I know this. Why is this? Why?
Right.
Well, because the king is wounded, and the land is a reflection of the wounded king." And so what we try to do, because I've done this with my family, where we go for a drive and I take them to where I grew up at, for example, and the whole neighborhood looks so small now. Well, it was small to start with, but I was 8. And so I had an 8-year-old's perspective of size. So it took me 3 days to mow the yard as an 8-year-old. But as an adult, it would take me...
The mower didn't change, but you did.
Yes. Whereas today, it might take me like the afternoon to mow that lawn. Because I was shocked, because we drove by my house where I grew up at, and I didn't recognize it. I'm looking, I'm like, no, the town's small. It shouldn't be that hard to find my house. And then I came back around, I was like, oh, they just changed, they moved the alley, and they put in another house. But that's where I grew up at. There's the tree. And yeah, that revelation of when you're a child, you see things from the child size perspective. And then as an adult, you see it again and go, oh, this tree is smaller than I remembered. It's like, yeah, because you're 50 now. You're not 8.
Yeah, if you would climb the tree today, it wouldn't be the same.
Well, yeah, I just grab the branch and pull myself up.
Right.
And yet, when Jesus then, it's like, where's your king? Where's the wounded king? Well, he's actually out kissing children on the head and blessing them. That's what my king does. It's like, but he's wounded, he's bleeding. Yeah, but he's out blessing children. That's what he loves to do. That's what takes his mind off of his pain. And so the sending back is, don't go back and then curse children by putting your adult perspective on a child and forcing them to grow up before it's time.
Right.
But rather let them be the child and recognize childlike faith and the thing that God blesses and says the kingdom is for children, not for you. So then how do I get in? You have to have a childlike faith. Well, how do you do that? Well, you have to see the land before it becomes ruined, because the child has hope and the adult says there's nothing we can do. So that's why the child will ask the question, how can we heal her? What can we do to save my dog? An adult won't ask the question because it's immodest. And it's like, well, we're not going to talk about that because that's an uncomfortable topic. Versus the reason Parsifal fails originally is because he won't ask, hey, uncle, how can I heal you? How can I help? And so as an adult, to bless is simply to say, name the wound, and we're gonna move to heal this. Like, name the wound.
Yeah.
And we're told, well, name it therapeutically. It's like, no, that doesn't heal. That simply names it for the sake of naming it. It just proves that therapeutics does its job. Versus, no, to name the wound is to say, can you heal me? And no therapist can heal your wound. But the Bible is explicit. Jesus is explicit in that, name it and I'll heal it. Right. If you want to, you can heal my leprosy. If you want to, you can heal my flow of blood. If you want to, you can absolve me.
Yeah,
and he says, I do.
I preached on John 9 and the healing of the blind man, and he doesn't ask the blind man's permission. He just tells him what to do, which is just beautiful, right? Because it's like, it doesn't require the blind man's assent. He doesn't even necessarily have to believe, but he does do what he says.
Yeah. I
mean, Jesus just spits, puts the mud in his eyes, and tells him to go wash it off in that particular pool. And it's really just, it's astounding how, that faith is given, but faith isn't even really necessary. I mean, just do what he says. And that is a faith act, I suppose.
There's a poet, his name's Antonio Machado, and he's like one of those guys you read and you're like, oh, that's a quote, that's a quote, that's a quote. So he's got some great quotes, but one of them is, what have you done with the garden that's been given to you? I love that. Right? It's very theological. So what have you done with the garden that's been given to you, whether that is your children, whether that is your ministry, whether that is your career vocation, whatever it might be, what have you done with the garden that's been given to you? Well, Paul says, well, I planted, he watered, but God gives the growth.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of, hey, when I come in judgment, have you done a good job in the vineyard? No. The problem with the vineyard workers is they claimed it as their own, versus we're just the caretakers of the garden. That's my job.
I just love how he says to the Pharisees, this blind man, right? It's like I don't know who you're even talking, but look, since the beginning of the world, has anybody who's born blind been healed? No.
Yeah.
Well, that tells you who it is.
Right. When Jesus says in John's Gospel, not a single one that has been placed into my hands have I lost.
Yeah.
So when you ask, well, Jesus, what have you done with your garden that's been given to you? He's like, not a single seed has fallen to the ground that has not produced a 100-fold harvest.
Right.
That's Eden talk. That's paradise talk. That's Genesis 1 talk.
And it's already there. Yeah.
And that's blessing talk. Like blessing talk, full talk, whole talk, shalom talk is, blessing skull is everything that God puts in my hands bears fruit 100-fold. He says that, Peter says, we left everything for you, and we're just not really seeing the payoff here. And Jesus says, what? I'll give you 10-fold what you left. Is that good enough for you now? Can we move on? And again, Peter's insatiable appetite for blessing I'd do anything for you. I'll die for you. It's like, no, you won't. Not without a receipt, which is why Peter abandons him in the end, because there's no receipts. Jesus is gone now, and God knows what's happening to him inside because we're outside by the fire. I'm not going to stick up for this guy because there's no payoff at the end of this. What's the benefit to me? There isn't one, so I don't know him. But yeah, but you get a weird accent like him. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So this is the difference between the cursed and the blessed. And you have to be brought, you can't by an act of will climb the walls of Eden. You can't jump in the sheepfold by jumping the fence. He goes, that's what thieves and robbers do. So that's a direct reference back to paradise, the seraphim flying over the wall to get to Adam and Eve. And he's saying, no, like, it's only an act of grace that brings you into the sheepfold. It's only an act of grace that opens the gates of paradise to you. This is why he says to the man, today you'll be with me in Eden. You'll be with me in the garden. Well, how is that possible? Because he's the guy who takes the blow from the angel with the sword to let you in. Like, he pays the doorman to let you into the club.
Pays him off.
Yeah. And so, but that's the story cycle. We leave paradise. We wander down into the valley with Cain and Abel. We know how that works out. We wander into the next valley with Babel. We wander into the next valley in Egypt. We wander into the next valley with Israel in the wilderness. And we're just going down, down, down into the underworld until we get to Jonah. And then we get to Jesus, and he goes into the underworld, and then he comes back out. I mean, this is the thing about spring right now. In Anglo-Saxon, Irish, Germanic society, and Scandinavian society, spring doesn't just happen. It comes out of the underworld. Life comes back up out of the underworld. It comes out of death, and death is a place that you go to. And so spring doesn't just happen, but rather it was in the underworld. That's what winter is. Life descends into the underworld, and then spring, being the official first day of the year, whenever the planting happens, is life coming up out of the underworld. Like, if we still had that, Easter would take care of itself.
Yeah.
It's right there in the seasons. Now, even the pagans knew this, and we as modern Christians don't. And so what we're left with is a kind of, and you hear it all the time, especially on social media, which is we are always wandering through the ruins and lamenting. We're like Sagun in the woods with her dead husband in her arms, rotting. And she's pulling out her hair because she can't stop grieving because there's no end to her grieving for her dead husband. And you encounter Sagun in the forest, and you're like, what's happening? It's like, well, the king's wounded. The land suffers. My husband is dead. I don't really see the purpose for going on. Well, that's everybody all the time nowadays.
Right.
Well, what has happened? You're wandering through the ruins. You haven't asked the one true question.
So, I mean, would you say it's like a pointless existence? Not pointless.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, it's nihilistic.
No, it's 100% pointless because you have no quest.
Right.
At least when Kundry says to Parsifal, you've made an art of failure, he knows what she means is you had the grail in front of you and you failed to take it. Like, it was offered to you and you didn't take it for modesty's sake because your mentor told you. Like, it was there, dude. You had it. Angels gave you the cup and you couldn't take it. So now you just have to wander because that's your pilgrimage. Now you have to wander until God gives you the grail, if he ever gives it to you. Because Trevisan, his uncle, who's a hermit's like, you'll never see it again. And then at the end, he has to repent and goes, I didn't expect God to give it to you a second time. And it's like, yeah, grace upon grace, dude. Which you should know as his preacher. So yeah, in the story of Parsifal, you have one who's his mentor as a knight, but then Trevisan's this hermit who's his mentor of his soul. So Gurnemance is the spirit mentor. That is the, what animates you, what moves you through the world. What's your earthly success going to be? What's your vocation? That's spirit talk. But Trevisan's this hermit, and he just sits and he absolves Parsifal for what's happened. He gives the grace of God. He opens up the heavens to him to see the real meaning of things, which is soul language. The spirit doesn't seek meaning. The spirit wants to do. The soul wants meaning. The soul seeks meaning. The soul seeks encounter. That's like, where's my true love? That's the soul. Whereas the spirit's like, I just want to have experiences with people. I just want to go on trips and I want to have fun and I want to do stuff and I want to have relationships. This is why you join a band when you're 16 years old,
right?
Because you're mostly spirit, and you want to go on the road and you want to sleep on people's couches and you want to play for $20 a night and kind of thing. The soul is, can we just sit and talk to each other? Can we read poetry to each other? Can we just stare at the stars and just consider how we got here? That's the soul's language, right? The soul says, hey, can you heal me? The spirit says, well, I got to go find the cure. And you'll notice then that most of the world is driven by spirit because just explain, theory, commentary. Like, just tell me. It's like, But you don't listen because it's just coming at you all the time and you're just eating it. Like I said, I got to this the other day. All technology at root is just about feeding us. That's all it is. All technology is just to feed this insatiable appetite we have for fullness that we can never find. Because we're trying to find by an act of will what can only be given by grace. And if everyone would stop inventing shit and just sit down and pray, problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, there's a creative aspect to invention, though, which, you know, is part of being a creature, a procreator. Subcreator, yeah. But is it...
there is sub, under.
Right, and how much of so-called technology is for the benefit of the gospel, you know?
No.
It's not.
He uses it.
Yeah.
Again, what you intended for evil, God used for good.
Right.
But that doesn't negate the fact that it's still, hey, this will feed us this time. This will satisfy our hunger this time. This will give us what we want this time. But it's all pornography. It's all pornographic. Because it's all persuasion. It's all take all the time.
Right.
It's grip, 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 pull, pull, pull. Rip and tear, the son of men take the kingdom of heaven by violence kind of stuff. Versus if I just sit and wait for the Lord, he'll come. Psalm 46, Psalm 47 talk. Soul talk, right? The Psalms are just the soul, just like here, feast. Like C.S. Lewis said, the Proverbs are like candies, and each psalm is a Thanksgiving meal. This is why you can spend your lifetime in Psalm 118. You don't have to read anything else in the Bible. Psalm 118 has everything that you need for life, for salvation. Everything's in Psalm 118. It's death, it's resurrection, it's vocation, it's prayer, it's everything that you need. And why? Because it feeds your soul. But if you want spirit, if you want to feed your spirit, then you need sports and you need excitement and you need relationship. And because as Taylor Swift has made a career out of, all my best songs are about breakups written by a 50-year-old man in Sweden. But nonetheless, she's made an entire career out of love songs about breakups. And so if that's your brand, if that's what feeds the appetite of your fans, you got to keep feeding them the food, the grain that they chew on, that will, again, see product, consume product, wait for next product, versus the soul saying, this is enough, satisfied, it's enough.
Right.
So like I was telling you, this African man I was listening to lecture yesterday, this teacher, Salome Mane or something? Salome Mane, I think. But anyways, he says, the cursed go into the house of the blessed to wage war. The cursed go into the house of the blessed to wage war. Why? Because the blessed have the cup. They're satisfied. They're whole. And then the cursed see that and go, well, we want to be whole. That's our whole purpose. It's like you can't just take it. It has to be given. That's how it works. And you can't, again, like we talk about, when you come into the house of the Lord and we hold it, we're offering it to you. We're not gatekeepers. We're table waiters. And so when you come in, the first thing I'm going to ask is, do you want to commune with us today? Do you want to sit at our table and eat with us or not? Well, what does that mean? Well, when you come into my house as my guest, these are the rules of our table. This is how you're going to behave in my house. Likewise, when you come into God's house, there's rules. This is how you're going to behave. This isn't just anything. This is actually God himself giving them to us to eat. And so, yeah, we want you to be here and we want you to sit with us and feast with us because this will make you whole. But first, I have to tell you, this isn't just plain alcohol. So don't worry about your addiction when you come to this table.
Right.
This is not what we're about. This is about healing the addiction. This isn't about lifting up the addiction and reinforcing this is who you are. No, when you're in God's house now, you're his guest. And better yet, you stay, he's going to marry you. And that's going to change your entire orientation. Now, instead of looking at the ruins, you're looking at paradise and saying, actually, the king heals and the land heals. So now you don't say, well, I don't understand why we're bombing Iran, because the king is wounded and the land is wounded. And no one's asking the one true question, which is...
We actually have a mad king, but yeah.
Yeah, we do, for sure. Mad King George. And all kings are mad, though, in the end.
Yeah.
Ultimately, other than Athelred, maybe, and Henry II. But
if they're not ended first.
But they were also, bloodthirsty warlords who got the job done. So everybody's asking the same question, which is, how can I be healed? Like I've said, the fear, the anxiety, the wars, the politics, the intersectional nonsense, the gender stuff, all of it is just people crying out because they don't have the words to express what they really want to ask, which is, if you want to, can you heal me? This is why people hate God. Because I preached on this last night for Compline. The reason everybody hates God is because they prayed for healing and they never got it. They never read, my grace is enough for you. They never read that. They never read, my kindness will make you whole. because it's all spirit, it's all reaction, and there's
It's
no
never,
discipline.
yeah. So if everything else is never enough.
Right. Because they don't recognize that oftentimes the wound is how you are deepened. That's where the wisdom comes from, is through the wounding. Like we talked about in Irish, we
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
how can I be your friend if I can't be sad?
Yeah.
Well, if I can't grieve, how can I know what our relationship is? Because when, like I was saying to you earlier, when an athlete wins, everyone texts and calls, everyone shows up for the after party because they want to be around a winner, because they want that magic on them. They want that magic fairy dust on them so they can be winners. But your real friends are the ones who call when you
Only
lose.
surround yourself with winners. I think I've heard that somewhere.
100%.
Yeah.
Whereas when your mom's the only person calling you after you lose, it turns out you have no friends. Or the people that sit with you when you lose and don't try to build you up, don't try to be like, hey man, you know what, better luck next time, just pull yourself by your bootstraps, let's get back out there and do it. No, they sit with you and they acknowledge you lost, you got knocked out, and it's going to take you a while to come back from that, but I'll show up for you, I'll be there for you, because again, this is a part of your life, but it's not your whole life. Yeah, you lost tonight, and yeah, you're an athlete, but guess what, someday you're not going to be an athlete, you'll be a retired athlete, and sometime you won't be known for your losses and your wins, you'll be known as dad or husband, or the guy who was gracious to his opponents. Ben Askren, a lot of people who follow fighting will know this. Ben Askren, he's a famous wrestler and fighter. He got wrecked and got really, really sick and almost died. Actually, he died twice and was brought back. And he just got baptized. He became a Christian after he came out of his coma. And the guy that knocked him out, and this is like a famous fight, he was knocked out in technically he was knocked out in like 3 seconds, but they timed it at 6. The guy who knocked him out with a flying knee and mocked him and was in his face, he was his sponsor for the baptism. He was there to sponsor him for his baptism.
Really?
It's like, and so again, outside of the Christian faith, people are like, wait a minute, I thought you guys were mortal enemies. And it's like, well, we were, but now we're brothers in Christ. And that's a higher, that's the identity. Like, I'm going to be with this guy forever in heaven.
Right.
And he's not my opponent anymore. He almost died. This is a fight, and this is the fight game. And you talk this way because you're afraid, and you talk this way because you're trying to hype the fight, and you talk this way because you're trying to psych yourself up. This is what you do. This is the culture. But this guy almost died. And so who was one of the first people to show up at his bedside when he woke up? The guy who knocked him out in 6 seconds and posterized him. Who's the guy who showed up for his baptism? Same guy. Who's going to show up for his kids for the rest of their lives? This guy. What changed? Jesus. Jesus changed both of them.
Yeah.
One was brought to Christ earlier. One was brought to Christ later but they were both brought to Christ through suffering, through the wound. And now the one who's been blessed says, hey man, yeah, we fought, we did the thing that we did, but this is all that matters. This is life and death stuff. This right here. Right. That's my job. That's what I do over there. This is real.
Well, and it was an attempt to find something, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You're just looking in the wrong place.
Well, there's a kid that the 2 guys I follow on YouTube, they do reactions. They're young millennial guys. Same thing. He had a heart attack and died, and his friends brought him back, and he had multiple heart surgeries. Hard science guy. Didn't believe in God at all. And not only now is he a baptized Christian, but also he started a foundation to go around to schools to teach kids CPR, so that if it ever happens to them,
right?
Because his friend knew CPR, that's what saved his life. Because it was like 20 minutes before the ambulance could get there. Well, could you do CPR if your friend had a heart attack or,
I was trained breathing? A year ago, hopefully.
But that's what I'm saying, right? It's like that experience and the pain that he went through and the death changed everything for him. He's like, oh, this isn't a game.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, it's called Phil's Friends, and he's written a book, Phil something, I forget his last name. But he had cancer. He had to go through chemo. And there were all sorts of things that he, that he needed. A stocking cap, blankets,
right?
Lotions, right? Because your skin's dying and all sorts of stuff, right? And so then, but he was cured, or at least in remission. So that's what he does now. Is he puts together teams to gather these things and get them to people who are going through cancer treatment. And they're like, if he hadn't gone through it, he didn't know the need. He didn't know what was missing,
100%. Right?
Or a place where he could serve.
It's weird how that works. It's like I think we talked about the last week of it's death and resurrection, not life, then death and resurrection. And
it was last week.
The reorientation of that then tells you from the very beginning, like I texted you about yesterday, like God's temple is a tomb, and it has been since the very beginning. And so to go up into heaven, you have to go down through the underworld.
You did see that they closed the Holy Sepulchre.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Israel did.
Mhm,
Shut
of
it
course.
down
Of
for
course they did.
Easter, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
For the first time in 2,000 or 1,700 years or something.
What
I
a
don't know.
scandal. Are you suggesting that the Jewish people don't believe Jesus is the Messiah?
And they don't want Christians celebrating it? Yeah.
That's weird.
I
Who would
know.
have thought?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Awesome. Well, God bless them. God love them.
I mean, it does cut down on tourism.
There's that.
So, I mean, you're giving up some funds there, but
It's not really. I mean, they're still getting my money whether I go there or not. So,
oh, I suppose.
but according to Pete Hegseth, we're going to need another 3% of taxes to send over for this. But,
Oh, did he say that? I
yeah,
missed
he
that.
did. Yeah,
Right.
another 3%. We're going to need more money. It's either money or the draft. Which one do you prefer? So, buy our way out. But no, it's just recognizing then that not only on a micro level, biblically and experientially, but on a macro level, the entirety of reality is built on death and resurrection. It always has been.
Mm-hmm.
And our understanding then of death is completely backwards to the way that he understands death. Not as an end, but as the beginning of everything. Unless the seed fall into the soil and die, it can't produce much fruit.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what have you done with the garden that has been given to you? Well, that's a lot of dying and rising from the dead is what that is.
Yeah.
You know, and
But I mean, it's also true. Death is the last enemy to be defeated,
correct.
and that as well.
There is that too. Yeah,
But
all the
then
little gods.
Death becomes a portal to life immortal. So.
Exactly. And always has. That's
Wow.
the key, though. It's not an accident of Genesis 3. It's always been wired that way because he's still the lamb from the foundation.
Yeah, and
He
I'm
always
still
has been.
struggling with what the deacon said. You posted in Telegram.
Hmm.
You know that the tree of knowledge of good and evil was to be there, it's just not yet.
Right.
And
Yeah, of course, because they're made in God's image. We're made in God's image.
it was going to be for them.
The seraphim didn't lie. The serpent didn't lie. You'll be like God. Well, it's like we're in his image, so yeah.
Yeah. It's not a question of if, it's when and or
Yeah,
how.
exactly.
Yeah.
Again, the question of the soul is, how long do I sit with this? The question of the spirit is, hey, I can climb that tree. I can get those coconuts for you. And God's like, no, I don't want you to climb the tree. Just sit and wait for your food. This is why Israel has to sit and wait in the wilderness for him to feed them. That's the pattern of Eden, is just sit and wait. I'll give it to you. In
Nice.
my time. It's thy will be done, not my will.
Right.
So speaking of the crucifixion,
Yeah.
then and now.
Introduction. What are we going to do? It's my turn, so I get to do the reading, I guess.
Yes, you do.
And I did a rando search in my dense archive of things I've collected over the years, and
There is that too. The digital archive. where
I've been
you're like,
trying
I don't
to.
remember that.
I'm working on trying to create a digital brain. It's been my dream for decades, and because I can never find anything. So you just have to do random keyword searches, and I found a book that was banned. I was told not to read it by more conservative types, and that is Berthold von Schenk's The Presence.
Well, von Schenk is problematic.
Well, he apparently changed his name, or his father did when he immigrated from Germany. Because they were members of the Schenk zu Schweinsberg family.
Oof.
I know. It's just too much to say. Von Schenk zu Schweinsberg. Nobody was going to be able to say that. So they dropped it when they came
To
here.
just von Schenk.
Yeah. Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod pastor, so of our tradition. But on the East Coast, yeah. So that we're Midwestern people. People on the East Coast are suspects. Sorry, friends. And but also the West Coast too. Sorry,
Yeah.
friends.
Right.
It's a Midwest, coastal thing.
The Hinterland, yeah.
Well, and in our church body in particular, our two seminaries, so our pastors are trained, one's in Indiana or was in Illinois before that. It was in Indiana before that, Istanbul, Constantinople, now it's Istanbul. And then our other seminary is in St. Louis. So,
We have been accused of being parochial, is the term.
well, geographically parochial,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And of course there's cultural settings there. So then he ends up as a missionary pastor coming out of seminary, by the way, 1895 to 1974. So that's his years. Bethesda Lutheran Church, which is nice, right? Because that's the healing pool. That's good.
Yeah.
In St. Louis. And then he spends all the rest of his ministry at Our Savior in the Bronx in
Right.
New York. So
Yep.
very New York. Notable because of liturgical renewal. He's part of the liturgical renewal
that's where he
movement.
comes into my life. Because my former mentor and teacher, Oliver K. Olson, despised him.
Right, right. And that's what I'm saying. So we both had that kind of don't ever read him thing. I've had
I got to read him because...
Well, like I hate read, right? Or
critical. Well, yeah, because you got to learn your enemy's tactics.
We didn't do that. I mean, we would occasionally, but generally not. So liturgical renewal, Vatican II. Mm-hmm. So he participated, in the stands.
Yeah.
They didn't allow the Protestants to talk, but they allowed them to be there, which is kind of interesting. But he would talk outside in like their whatever their forums or
during smoke breaks and coffee breaks.
Yeah, side councils, that kind of thing. So probably had some hand in that, or at least brought some of that back into Missouri.
Then, he certainly did.
Supposedly, the primary concern, or the primary thing that he was known for, is his writing. Mm-hmm. But the only thing I have that I found is this book. It's called The
Presence. I have some of his stuff from Oliver.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have his autobiography is called Lively Stone. I think I have that.
Speaking of searching for files on your computer.
Yeah. So this has really been it. But that, he's a bridge figure. This is probably an important thing to note too, because this book is 1945. He's coming into the liturgical renewal in Missouri, and from the left, perceived anyway, from a more less than conservative perspective. Of course, from your seminary, it would have been from more of a conservative perspective, perhaps. I don't know.
For Oliver, I think.
Yeah.
The thing about Luther was obviously that the Roman Catholic leaning stuff interfered with the Episcopal leaning direction of the seminary. Luther ELCA seminary was very Episcopal leaning at that time, very Anglican, but not Roman, because that was still considered a part of Missouri tradition. Because the fight in the 50s in particular was, are you Protestant leaning or Catholic leaning? That was always the question.
Yeah, and I would think, especially with the German aristocratic, family roots, it's going to be reform of Rome. That's what he's going to be, or he's going to be very Romanist in that regard.
Yeah, he leans. Yeah.
Yeah. But he writes in kind of a devotional way, so that'll make it a little bit more fun for us to read.
Right.
And then also the what's the other aspect? Oh, he's like one of the last people to be trained by Franz Pieper, the dogmatist. So that's why I say he's a bridge figure from like the first generation. Franz Pieper being, Franz is kind of second.
First communion, and this is what I have. It's first communion and confirmation by von Schenk.
Oh, that's interesting. That might be helpful to read too.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the purpose of writing the book, we're not going to read the beginning, but I'll share a little bit here just to give you an idea of what he's after here. It is with great hesitancy that I've prepared for print this manuscript on the Holy Communion, for the Blessed Sacrament is holy ground, the holiest of all. Of course, only he who sees takes off his shoes. I thought it was a great intro. We agree, right? The holiest of all grounds, the sacrament. We cannot approach the sacrament by rationalizing it and think of it in terms of well-known doctrinal definitions and say we fully understand it because we know the various theological opinions about it. I was like, oh, that's what we've been talking about, right? It is the mysterium. Gregory Nazianzen has stated it so well. Quote, to try to understand is audacity. To believe is piety. To behold is blessedness. That was a good quote. So he wants to hold the mystery. So what he's going to do is...
What official page are you starting from?
That's right in the introduction. I'm just reading the introduction.
Okay, good.
To get us kind of into it.
Okay.
Thomas A. Kempis warning against, quote, unnecessary searching in the profundities of the sacrament if we do not wish to be submerged in the abyss of doubt and despair, end quote, is a good directive. He continues, faith and love reveals themselves best in the Holy Sacrament and work through it in a mysterious manner. If his great words are easily comprehended by human reason, they would from that moment cease to be wonderful and inexpressibly great. I can only confess what the Holy Eucharist means to me. Oh, he uses the term Eucharist. That'll throw off some people. Briefly, it is this, that Christ gave himself to be food of my supernatural life. Here I have the actual presence and self-giving of the living Christ. He who gave himself for me on the cross is giving himself to me as I come to the altar. Then he gave himself unto death. Now he gives himself to me for life, that through his living presence and power he may do for me everything that his death had made possible for me. In the Holy Communion, I have the greatest realities, capital R realities.
Mm-hmm.
It is an unseen presence, capital P, and yet is the unseen presence. And yet in this unseen presence, there is no mere memorial, but the birth, life, death, resurrection, and ascension brought down to today, space and time abolished. I mean, I'm reading all of this. I'm like, yes, this is what we've been saying. And I was told never to read it. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's time and eternity. We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Receiving the whole of Christ, that it's a mystery that is to be received, not comprehended,
Right.
or understood through reason.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I see all this with a clearer sight than the disciples of our Lord could possibly have realized it. I believe the sacrament is the true body and blood of Jesus Christ, given and shed for my sins. There's a nice bona fide for Lutherans. It is the same body which was born of the Blessed Virgin Mary and hung on the cross, not as it was then in the state of humiliation, but now risen and victorious. It is a spiritual body, not his dead body, for he was dead and is alive forevermore. It is through the power of the word that in the earthly elements of bread and wine we have the body and blood of Christ. Therefore we pray the epiclesis. Oh no!
Yep, there we go.
We humbly beseech thee,
Magic.
etc. And then he quotes the epiclesis. So he did want the epiclesis back.
He certainly did. You also notice all the free will language he slips in.
Oh, I believe, I see, and I have.
He takes the verbs. It's the cause-effect path. Yeah, he does
I mean,
it
I think
right.
he's just trying to make a good confession.
No,
but
he's not.
I see what you're saying.
He's Vatican IIing it.
You think
He's
so?
trying to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would expect that anybody would say these sorts of things, though.
No.
Of
Who's running the
themselves.
verbs? Who's
He
running
gives
the
me to
verbs?
see. I mean, you want to do more passive,
Yeah.
passive in your language.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, it's a good introduction because he doesn't lay all of his cards on the table quite yet.
Okay. So, so what's he going to do? He's going to do this by going through basically the life, death. I mean, what he just said, the life and ministry of Christ, to teach about the sacrament, I guess, right? Or to something to that effect. So I thought it would be helpful for us to read about the crucifixion, given that it's Lent.
Lent. Leading,
So that is
lengthening.
on page, what, 59
59?
is what I said?
Crucifixion?
59. Crucifixion then and now. Oh, and he's going to use a word that we've been critical of, but we probably will want to tease out from somebody who actually proposed it, right? And promoted the idea. And that is union with Christ, which is going to be right in the front here. So this is chapter 1, actually. Oh, chapter 1 of part 2. Sorry.
There we go. Part 2.
So part 2, chapter 1. The crucifixion then and now. Union. Our destiny.
It's our destiny, Lorraine. It's our destiny.
I know. We can't help but read this now in light of popular media. Why did God create man for himself? God's plan is incomplete without man. Man is incomplete without God. The great tragedy occurs when man leaves God. So that's his little introduction there. Man could do this, for God created him with a free will, a dignity to say no to him. It's like, what a great way to start it. No greater tragedy ever happened than when a man exercised his free will and separated himself from God through selfishness. All sin is basically selfishness. So there's some truth in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Sin is selfishness. We do exercise our will, but that's all we can
exercise.
exercise.
Incurvatus est is how I translate in modern language. It's selfishness.
Yeah.
Self-centeredness, self-seeking.
But what else can we do with our will?
Right.
But to reject God. Right. It's not I who do these things, Christ who is in me. It does them, would be the opposite. So I don't know if he's rejecting the formula or not. He does quote the formula earlier, so I think he holds to it confessionally. I mean, he wouldn't. Well, can you remain in the Missouri Synod and reject the formula?
You're kidding, right?
Technically, no, but actually, yes. So yes, I am kidding.
Yes.
Practically, yes. Okay. You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Nothing more to say there? Okay.
No.
As God grieved over the abyss of the world when it had become empty and void, so the mother spirit of God brooded over the great tragedy of man's selfishness. This was not published by our publishing house. What is the mother spirit of God?
That would be the mother eagle brooding over her nest.
Oh, okay. The separation was complete as far as man was concerned, but on God's side it would not be allowed. There was but one thought in the mind of God, reconciliation. But how? It was not easy. There are two attributes of God which made this reconciliation seem impossible, justice and love.
Notice this is an Augustinian line. This is straight Augustine.
Yeah.
So you have to understand fundamentally
God as opposed to himself kind of thing.
For Augustine, fundamentally, like Genesis 3 is an accident of history. So everything that von Schenk is saying is essentially going to come out as like this accident happened. We used our free will to screw things up, and now God's got to figure out.
And man bears culpability for that.
Yeah, ultimately, you have to be like, this is Anselm Abelard. Like, who did Jesus die for exactly? Like, what sins did he die for, and what responsibility do we have in that? The spark of the divine kind of question.
Yeah.
And does grace inflame the will to then seek out the light, the good, the beautiful, the true?
I mean, I think Genesis 2 into 3 is probably the hardest part of the Bible.
Well, yeah, because it comes without any footnotes.
Right,
it's
exactly.
Very distilled.
So then you end up with quite a few, I guess, what do you want to say?
But this is also the dangers, like Augustine, he reads history linearly. There's a linearity to it. This happened, then this happened, then this happened.
So how would you read Genesis?
Hub of the wheel, out.
Yeah.
Behold the Lamb crucified from the foundation, and then
so you have to, in other words, if that's at the center, then you're bringing to bear all the other scriptures that inform it, all the way from Revelation through the prophets
everything.
Yeah.
Like even outside the Bible, obviously. Like you can't stand in your garden in April in the mud barefoot and say heaven and earth are touching in this garden.
And that's effectively what Paul does in Romans 1-3 with the natural knowledge of
100%.
God. Yeah.
So rather than look at history as linear, which is very chronos scald, you look at it kairos scald, which is there's the hub, and then all of the spokes that come out from the hub are held by the hub that makes the whole wheel move.
Which is
then
why
history. History is actually not even like circular. There's a hub. That's why we say, like in the medieval church, the tree is the center of the cosmos. It's not heliocentric. It's not earth-centric. It's dendro. It's tree-centric. The tree of life is at the center of the universe. That's a mythical, mysterious statement because obviously you can't look through a telescope and see a giant tree floating in the middle, like in the movie. What is that movie with Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz?
Fountain?
Yeah, The Fountain. Right. The center of the universe is that tree of life. It's a very powerful theological movie. It's
I know.
Really great. Aronofsky can kind of get.
He can be Aronofsky. He can do it. He can do it.
But no, he nailed that one. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, we did.
I own it. But for that reason, just visually, he gets it. But if we start with the tree of life is the center, then time is, well, is it the right time for this? Is it the right time for that? Versus if time is linear only or primarily linear, then we have to ask like this question, well, if God's a God of justice and love, how can he tolerate this thing that happened? We misused our free will.
Justice and love stand opposite.
The Bible is very clear that to be in relationship with God is to not have any free will. But we think of free will in the sense of like, well, if I don't have a choice, my body, my choice, otherwise I'm a slave to the patriarchy. Like if I don't have a choice, I'm a slave. Well, Paul calls himself a slave for Christ.
Right.
And if your master, your slave master is kind, gentle, forgiving, long-suffering, patient, loves to give away gifts to you, I'll be a slave in that house.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you want to be? But this is, again, modernism that says, unless I am completely unattached to anything and just a free-floating atom, I am truly unhappy. I am truly cursed.
Well, that's what we said maybe before we recorded, but just contemplated this in the last day or so that, because people are so abstracted from life.
Yeah.
And by that I mean, the ground. And,
go touch the earth. Yeah.
Right. And when we talk about go touch grass, it's a statement.
Sit at a table with someone in a cafe and just talk to each other face to face.
But I'm even talking about like the normal, like biologically that you've been created, to find a spouse and to marry and to bear children.
Communion.
Yeah. To live in family. That's like, it's not, and we just treat it like this optional thing. You wonder why people are so like despairing. It's because they're alone and they're separated.
We talked about this in my Hebrew class long ago, the Shema, the Lord is one, and that can be translated.
But it's the Lord our God, by the way. Yeah.
Is it a monad? Because that's how moderns want to see it as, like God is one. He's a monad. He's unto himself. Versus it also can mean unity. That is that God is a unity.
Yeah.
which Trinitarian speaking, that's how you would translate that.
Sure, sure.
So then the word union as it's used here, I don't know how he's going to, well, I do. But anyways, we'll get to that. But
I know.
The point is, when I use the term union, I mean communion, community. That is in union. That is a wholeness comes through that relationship, right?
Yeah, and that's what he is driving at with union in the sacrament.
You cease to exist because you just kind of melt into the divine monad. Like
yeah, but in the same, well, that's the way the apostle talks about being joined to Christ, is that it's one body with many members, each member being uniquely given to, yet part of the whole.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the both and of it.
Yeah.
Is that you are you, but yet simultaneously you are not you, you are Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And so we talk about this in recovery. When you first get into recovery and they tell you, you have to make sobriety the focus of every day. Well, how much? 100%. You're like, but if all I do is focus on sobriety, how can I do anything else, right?
Right.
Because you have an addict mind. But you've spent your entire time as an addict focused on one thing, which is scoring and getting high. And that's
so you have lost purpose.
Right, because you're crossing that Jabbok. And the other, you're like, but isn't Esau and his 400 warriors on the other side of the Jabbok? Isn't that what sobriety is just hell on earth? Shouldn't I just send my family and things across as sacrifices? And they're like, no, this side of the river is grace and mercy. This side of the, look at what you were doing over here.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with the gospel, is once the Holy Spirit claims you with the gospel, your entire life is nothing but thinking and meditating and talking and focused on the Holy Spirit and the gospel. And as I've said before, you become what you focus on most. Eventually you become what you focus on. So if all you're focusing on is getting higher, or your girlfriend or boyfriend, or your career, you will become that. You will, in again, Sigurd and Fafnir, like Fafnir warns Sigurd, you're not here to save the town. You're here because of greed. You want my treasure. But how do you think I became a dragon in the first place? I wasn't always a dragon.
Right.
I was a man. And it turns out that greed turns men into dragons. So if you focus on Christ, what's that turn you into ultimately? If you focus on the world, what does that turn you into eventually? Like I said, if all you focus on are the ruins and how when I was a kid things were better. And you hear this all the time, right? Every generation says, when we were kids, times were better. Whereas you and I both know, growing up in the 80s and 90s, we were living in the best time ever, and there's never been a better time, and never will be, because we're special, because we were told that. We're all snowflakes. We were told that growing up, kids.
Right.
That's where the term snowflake comes from. So what happens is you have nostalgia for childhood. You're Parsifal wanting to go back into the woods with your mother, go back to that time when you could play and you could talk with the birds and you had your little toy lance and you pretended you were a brave knight. You want that. But then you come back as an adult and go, wait, everything's changed. But you need the wisdom people to say nothing's changed. You're a man now.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the world through a man's eyes.
That's what I was saying. There were things that you couldn't see before that you can see now. And there are things that you don't see now that you could see when you were a child.
I was just, before I came over here, I was listening to, he was on Father Ted. He was the assistant to Father Ted. I can't remember his name. Alden, I think. Okay. Irish guy. But anyways, he was talking about, now that he has kids, he always told people, I was a very quiet, shy child growing up. I was always very withdrawn and kind of in my head. And he's like, I'm showing my kids these 35 millimeter films that my dad made. And he's like, I am interrupting and upsetting every single shot I'm in. I'm pulling my shirt over my head. I'm making faces. I'm doing dances. And he's like, oh, that's why I turned out the way that I did. I was always this way. But I thought, he spends most of his life before children asking, well, when did the switch go off between being the shy, introverted kid to being the extroverted comedian actor? And it's like, actually, you were always that. You just had a flawed memory of it because you're looking at it from the adult side saying I was a shy kid. Right. Then you look at yourself as a kid and go, oh, that's why I was always getting in trouble.
Right.
And so we have to be very careful about the rose-tinted glasses of nostalgia, because we will create a myth around ourselves that is not mythic. It's tragic. We have to be careful of that. And in the church especially, the people that come into the church and say, I'm going to change things, they're the most dangerous people, actually, anywhere. Doesn't matter if it's your house, your church, your job. The people that come in and immediately say, I'm going to change things, which is the temptation, again, to satisfy that hunger. I need to scratch the itch kind of thing. And God in his grace says, yeah, what you intended for evil, thinking it was good, I used for good, even though you thought I was doing something evil to you. Like I said, lots of atheists are just people that hate God for not answering their prayers for healing the way that they wanted.
I
And
said
so,
that in a sermon too recently. Did I get that from you? I must
I
have.
don't know. I got it from other people, so it's not me. But
Yeah.
the point is then to recognize then that these aren't accidents. There are no accidents. This is the problem when you see history purely as linear. You're always, because you're limited by your time. So you're always seeing time then as a series of accidents. This happened, then this happened. Why did this happen? And how did I end up here? How did we meet? Versus if you look at it universally, you say
That was lucky.
yeah, exactly right. Versus no, I was supposed to end up here because this is the intent. Now, how I ended up here was a long circuitous route, but nonetheless, what I intended for evil,
you can't even see all the details.
God used for good. And like I said, when your father dies, in my case, as a son, and for daughters, I've heard it's the same when their mother dies. So when my father dies and I become a man finally, and I look at my own children now as a father, not that I didn't before, but as the patriarch now, I look at my children, I look at my brother and I look at my father, and I look at myself as a father, and I go, oh, I win. Like I win. Like I'm infinitely better than he is as a father. Infinitely. And yet, because my entire focus is on Christ, I say,
But I'm not
no, it's not about winning. This isn't a game. It's not about winning and
yeah.
losing, but rather God gave you a garden. He planted 5 trees in your garden. There's been some rough patches for sure, especially early on. They've all produced abundant fruit and they're not even adults yet. It's all gift. And no matter what, I'm the caretaker. And so I'm not going to say to my children, I did my job. I'll never say that to my children because that was said to me. I was never told, my father, and this is not an exaggeration, never told me he loved me, and he never asked for my forgiveness. He never apologized for anything. Even when I called him on it, he never apologized. So you grow up your whole life never being told by your father that I love you. You never hear that. My kids hear that at least 3 times a day, minimum, from myself individually, from my wife.
I heard at least 3 times a day from at least one of my children.
Right, exactly.
Who insists on saying it all the time.
And you're like,
it's beautiful.
That's such a gift, right? That's the blessing that gives you that golden insides. And so then you recognize in that, so if my focus is over here on Christ and not over here on the ruins, then the question when it comes will be, hey, Lord, can you heal me? You'll ask it because you have a good master. Versus if you're over here with the mad king, I'm not going to ask him for healing. He might bomb me. He might give me, an insurance form to fill out. He may tell me I don't qualify for the test. That's what creates that anxiety, which is I think anxiety ultimately is a consequence of obviously selfishness and not being in control.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah, because there's no contentment.
Right. Yeah. There's no wholeness. There's no feeding. Ultimately, that's going to fill you up. It's like Mitch Hedberg, the comedian, said, I like rice because sometimes I just want to eat 10,000 of the same thing.
That's good. And it's not that you might not be hungry, but you're just
have more.
Yeah, hungry for what?
Yeah.
And we all know, like, you can be satisfied. Your body can be satisfied, and yet you're not, because you'll just keep eating. Like, and probably it's the MSG or something. Your neurotoxins.
That's why I said I believe all technology at root is an attempt to feed us and to fill us full. That's why we have to keep innovating. Versus the original technology is the chalice. That's the original technology.
Satisfied with,
because it's the work of God's hands.
Satisfied with little and weakness and worldly eyes, but it's the fullness.
I was meditating on Jacob. Like Jacob puts his head on the original Grail because the Grail originally was a rock, and then it became a chalice. So Jacob actually uses for a pillow an altar. He uses the Grail as a pillow.
Doesn't it become the altar after?
Yeah. Yeah, because when he woke up, he built an altar in that place,
right?
And calls it Bethel and Baithel. And yet when he puts his head on the Grail, then heaven is revealed to him, the angels coming and going, which is the scene in Anfortis's castle when the young maidens, who are actually angels, bring the Grail into and bring the spear that pierced his side, that's still bleeding, into the dining hall.
Really? Okay.
That whole scene from Jacob with the angels is in Parsifal. And you go, oh, okay, as a Christian, now I can see this being a great story without being a Christian. Joseph Campbell, for example, made it the kind of central focus of his entire life. But as a Christian, you go, oh, this entire story of Parsifal is really just the Bible. And I'm just going to pray for God to keep showing me all the biblical things that are in this story So that when I tell it then, like I said, if I just want to tell you the story of Parsifal as a story about Parsifal the Knight and the Holy Grail, I can tell that story in an hour. But as a Christian, I could tell you that story for 2 weeks.
Right.
Because we're going to go into the Bible and I'm going to show you this is from this and this is from that and this is Jesus and this is Jesus. Because why? Because my entire focus is on Christ crucified.
Right. And
So
how it's
then-
confessed.
So then you say, well, the entire, because again, I keep bringing back this because it's where I'm at, but like nothing that happens in Parsifal is an accident. Like Chrétien de Troyes, Wolfram von Eschenberg, they all know all of this is by God's grace. So therefore, nothing that happens in the story to Arthur, to Gawain, to Parsifal, to Travis, anybody, it all happens according to God's will.
Right.
That's why you can't find by an act of will what's given by grace. So what we do, what Augustine ultimately was forced to do because he couldn't figure it out, is
Back to Augustine. Thank you.
accident. It's all accidents.
Yes. And it as if God had no hand in man's
Correct.
rebellion. I mean, that's a hard.
No,
it's
after
like,
the fact.
What,
Yeah.
yeah. What kind of God? What is he?
You know, God's walking in the cool of the day in the Dempsey time going, what have you done? What did you do to the polar bears? Why are they brown? You know, versus it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. I knew this too.
Mm-hmm.
And here I already have the promise. I can tell you the end of the story now.
And then we ask,
in Genesis
of course,
3.
what does the post-fall Adam say? How could you allow this to happen?
Mm.
You screwed us.
Put
How
God
could
on
you
the
do this?
judgment seat.
It's your fault Cain killed Abel, you know. It's your fault we had to build Babel.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of blame for God.
Oh, yeah,
It's not
no,
recorded though. It's not recorded.
Yeah.
It really is definitely like that is the theme of Exodus. But
Right.
It's a little
Because
less
ultimately
so,
the
really.
appeal to the man and the woman are, you know you don't have to die if you eat this.
Mhm.
You can be like God, meaning you don't die. But
Right.
God's like, again, like Ephraim the Syrian says, ultimately what drives Adam and Eve mad is that when they eat the fruit and they see the tree in the middle, they go, there's a dead God on that tree. There's the crucified God.
Hmm.
We thought we ate this and lived forever. And turns out, oh, crap.
Right.
And it drives them mad.
Right. I like that idea. It's
I think that
it's
ultimately-
speculative, but it's good.
Yeah, when you read Ephraim explain it exegetically, you're like, no, it tracks. Again, Hymns on Paradise is, it's in competition with the Galatians lectures for me.
That's something.
Yeah.
All right, so justice and love, Augustine.
Justice and love.
There are two attributes of God which made this reconciliation seem impossible: justice and love. Justice demands the reaping after the sowing.
There it is.
Justice demands
Punitive.
demands to collect the wages of sin. Justice demands penalty for guilt. How difficult it was for God to be just when we can only understand when we remember that God is love. All right, so love.
That's a very human definition of justice, but Isaiah would disagree with you.
Yeah.
I will repay you double for all your sin, to which man goes, oh, I'm in trouble. And then God goes, here's the serpent in the wilderness.
It's a bit ironic, given what he said at the introduction, that
Yeah.
the sacrament cannot be understood by reason. And it's like, well, you're applying very philosophical, less biblical
Yeah.
definitions here of terms.
Right.
But so it is. That's the
The
world.
problem with the union with Christ, especially the Finnish Lutherans, is that they assume it's an ascent up towards God versus a descent down into
he does,
humanity.
and von Schenk does descent, but we'll
He
get
does,
to that.
yep.
We'll get to that. So, so justice demanded the casting away of the beloved, but justice had to remain justice. Love had to remain love. How could these two be brought together? The solution, of course, was in love, as love is always the solution for every problem. Love is that which must always give itself. Hence, so it's very abstract here so far. Hence, in order that justice could be done, love had to give itself, capital L, love. What happened? A little baby was born in Bethlehem. 33 years later, that the man Jesus hangs on the cross. Thus, justice and love met and kissed. That's not what the psalm says. What does the psalm say? Righteousness
this
and
is
peace
the thing
kiss
about
each
von
other.
Schenk and this is true of his generation. They make very subtle grammatical changes to things.
Yeah,
on the
because it's
surface-
righteousness and peace, not justice and love, man.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying a little baby was born and Jesus died on the cross.
You think there's something there?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
a subtle...
A little
there's-
baby, and then the man Jesus. Maybe just setting those two in contrast.
No, he's dividing the divinity and the humanity.
I mean, well, I don't know if
It's
I
a
agree.
subtle shift. But
You are more read in this guy than I am. Anyway, he loved me. And
I'm
gave
trying not
himself
to be
for me.
critical, but it's little things like this that I actually cut my teeth on at seminary. So
It is true. It's true.
Again,
This is why we're reading it together.
Nestigan and Ferdy had me read these guys too for the same reason.
Well, and so you can
Because
see
this is what, in the ELCA, this is what the bishops did. They used this kind of stuff, and they played with the grammar of it. Jensen did it in his dogmatics. He plays with the grammar of things, so you agree with it on the surface, but once you start to scratch at it and go, why did you use this turn of phrase? That's what,
and the net
what
result
angers
would be like 1990 Joint Declaration on Justification, where it's just fast and loose with terms by that.
Correct. Yeah. That's what drives me nuts. Is like, just be honest and tell the truth. Just say it. You don't agree with the Lutheran doctrine on the divinity and humanity of the two natures of Christ. You don't agree.
And I don't think he agrees on the will either.
He doesn't. I know for a fact he doesn't agree on the will.
Yeah, I'm guessing that too.
Because he's all about adoration and Eucharistic sacrifice.
Yeah, and we heard the epiclesis. So we call Jesus down. That's in that introduction. All right, so the basic thought, this was not published by our publishing house, by the way, so that does tell you something, maybe, I don't know. It wouldn't have made it through, is the point I'm making. The basic thought of Calvary is reconciliation, union. Is that the same thing? I don't know. The way of doing it was incidental. Therefore, the cross is incidental. What does that mean?
That's what I said, accidental. The cross is an accident of history.
But we glory in it because it was God's way. There are earnest and sincere preachers who are intellectually and emotionally moved by the cross. How they look forward to the season of Lent when they can again preach the message of the cross. I think you're not doing that all the time. Tearfully, they appeal to their hearers. I love how he's mocking other pastors. That's good strategy. We do it all the time. Tearfully, they appeal to their hearers and plead with them to look to the cross. For you, they cry out. Christ gave himself for you, for the church. This is truth. We find no fault with this message. But. It's a big
Which
but.
Negates everything that comes before.
But how does all this affect many of the hearers who crowd the churches during this solemn season? I don't know about his attendance during Lent. Anyway.
He's in the Bronx, though. So
I know.
Population.
Does it inspire them to love, to sacrifice, to give?
There it is.
So the purpose of the cross is what he's saying. What is he saying?
Aren't you grateful Jesus died for you? Don't you want to show your thanks that Jesus died for you?
Well, because union is going to be joined to transformation.
Correct.
Change. And we... I mean,
I agree.
We agree. We preach Christ crucified, the stumbling block.
However,
who's the agent of the change?
There it is. Right. There's the hinge.
Yeah.
Jesus changes your heart. Now, what are you going to do with it? How is, again, in the Roman Catholic formula, how is faith formed?
By faith formed by love. Yeah.
There we go. Yes.
How does that go? Fides Caritas, something or other.
Fides Caritas is formata.
That's formata, yeah. I know enough Latin to be dangerous.
Yep.
That one I know.
That's where we're going, by the way. This is where it's all leading to.
Yeah.
The purpose of the Eucharist is literally to go, okay, now go. Do the charity thing.
And I wanted to read it because I also think that's how people treat, especially Holy Week.
Yeah.
Is it's like, it's supposed to be this excruciating exercise.
Correct. And for many it is. For sure. Even pastors.
I make it
it's
that
a grind.
way, certainly. Yeah.
Well, it's... Depending on it, liturgically, it depends.
I just want to hear all the texts. That's why I do it.
Yeah, that's key.
I just like to hear
all
the Gospels.
What we're driving at, and everybody who listens to the show knows this, but to refresh, we don't say if then, we say will. You will be changed, and you will do this. It's not a matter of whether you want to or not. Again, the mind of Christ is in you, but the flesh rejects it. Paul's very clear in Romans on this.
Right.
Which means I'm not going to say
actively all the time.
If you are changed. No, you are going to be changed. Again, our friend Swerla taught me this rather recently last year, which is grammatically in Greek and Hebrew, you can translate if as when. That's not illegitimate. And there are many contexts where I look at it and go, no, this is a when statement, not an if statement.
But you almost have to do it. I mean, this happened last night because I read from Isaiah 1 and Ezekiel 36, right? And they're both about the new heart.
Yeah.
And in Ezekiel, it's all God's active, you're passively receiving. Isaiah 1, it's you're active. If you do this, then this will happen.
Correct.
It's like, and if you read it as anthropocentric, as man-centered,
100%.
You're like, well, these two scriptures contradict each other then.
Right. That's the key, right? The key is when God says it, it's when. When he puts it to you, he goes, listen, if you open the door to the black wolf, he is going to pounce on you.
Yeah. And in fairness, later Isaiah is much more, you're passive.
Yeah.
This is at the very beginning of the book, which it's almost like setting up. I mean, we call it a rhoritorical question, I guess, or
where are you? He knows where he's at.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Just like that.
Three times, right?
A test, if you like.
Yeah,
if you like. All right. So let's see. Where were we? We find no fault with this message. We did that. But how does all this affect the many hearers who crowd the churches during the solemn season? Does it inspire them to love, to sacrifice, to give? The churches which were crowded during Lent are empty after Easter, quite empty. The offerings are less, and within another month, the great American institution of the weekend is in full swing. Well, that's true.
So let me put it this way, too.
The summer, in other
since
words.
we're thinking this. So if I say to my congregation, especially on Easter when you have visitors and so on, that'd be good to you. You will reject this, and you will be changed by it, and you will go out from here, and God will work through you for the betterment of your neighbor. Now, in faith, you will say, I'm going to sin and mess this up. True. In unbelief, you're going to say, I don't want to. True. Both result in the same thing. You're going to fail at this. Whether you do it in faith or unbelief, you will fail at benefiting your neighbor unless it's the Holy Spirit working through you as an instrument.
The Spirit of Christ, that's correct.
So it's not a matter of, well, people with faith, they'll get it right. No, they won't, because people in faith will say, but I thought I was the chief of all sinners.
They just seem to be a little bit more acutely aware.
Yeah, exactly, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Versus if you're an unbeliever and you're saying like, well, how can you say that? What if I don't want to?
There is it's not a blessedness, but there is there's an advantage to sinning and ignorance.
There's kind of a kind of pious subduing of.
Well, I mean, Paul talks about it. It's like it was better before I knew what coveting was.
100%.
Now I know what coveting is. It drives me mad.
No, life was infinitely better before I converted to Christianity.
Right.
Yeah.
It
was just easier to explain away things.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yes. So it's not a matter of one or the other side in the church is going to get it and the other side's not. No one is righteous, not one. All have fallen short of the glory of God. No one seeks righteousness.
Oh, but you're not making the transition to Romans 8.
Exactly.
Where you're
it's
no
all
longer
the Holy
a sinner.
Spirit working.
And I tell this to
Where
people,
sheep
and they
being
don't.
led to the slaughter.
They
that
just
part?
Yeah, that part.
We don't know how to pray as we ought to.
Okay, fine. Romans 9. They just don't people like our people don't believe. At least the faithful ones, Bible study. They can't believe that people think that they don't sin anymore. You're like,
right?
Oh no, people they do believe that.
Yeah,
because the alternative is
you're
much
sinning
harder.
right now by thinking that other people don't believe this when you
right,
yourself
well,
are sinning right now by saying it.
It's like you point at the Pharisees, but you miss the Pharisee that you've got.
Right. There's three
are.
fingers pointing back at you,
Yeah,
or four, depending on if you're a cartoon.
Yeah. So being aware of it doesn't give you the ability to fix it.
Right, exactly. Just because you can explain, all you've done is explain that you are good at explaining the thing, but you haven't actually demonstrated that you can do it.
But Pastor, I said I'm a poor, miserable sinner. You're like, yeah, good. That's true.
I believe I can't believe.
Right. Yeah. Go to the third article. Let's see. So this is going to be very Roman. I didn't put it up on the screen today. Oh well. Hey people, just listen.
We'll include. Do we have a link?
I put it. Yeah,
in the show notes. There we go.
Yeah, you can read it on archive.org. Let's see. So the weekend is in full swing. Yeah, it turns into summer. Nobody goes to church anymore.
Right.
True. It's kind of hot in church though. We don't have AC. Frustrated, the minister faces this reality. Does he? Some will say there is nothing to worry about. Psychologically, this letdown can be easily explained, right? We call it Low Sunday, the Sunday after Easter, right? We even call it that. Pastors do.
Yeah.
Yeah. For in every human life, there is a rise and a fall, a spring and an autumn, and Lent and the spring. But those who hide themselves behind this excuse fail to realize that after spring, there must come summer, and after sowing, a reaping. So we've called that the summer season because it's green most of the season, right? Liturgically, we have green paraments of vestments, that it's the growing season.
Yeah.
I've used that language because it's, you get a little bit of parables, you get some just basic instruction.
Yeah.
It's less of the dramatic narrative of the festival half of the year. Just Bonnie says it gets hot in Wisconsin. Yeah, it might get up to 90 even.
I know, right?
And humid.
But
we get corn sweat. Corn sweat.
Corn sweat is the worst. That should be Nebraska's motto, corn sweat.
Why we never had that word when I was growing up. I like it.
It's a great word, but it's true. When we were in Nebraska for higher things and I was jogging through the corn sweat, that's when I determined I hated Nebraska. Not the people, just the state. Yeah, the geography of it. But no, like we were talking about off camera, when you follow the old calendar, then suddenly the cosmos, the seasons, and the feast days on the calendar, they're all in sync with each other. The entire universe is synced up. The liturgy is synced up to the universe.
So you don't necessarily disagree that there are these times of life and there's a dying and a rise.
I mean, he's left out two of them. But
Winter?
winter and harvest.
No, he talks about a reaping. He just said that.
Oh, did he?
Sowing
Okay,
and
I'm sorry.
reaping.
Which did he leave out then?
That's in
Just
autumn.
just winter?
Just winter.
Okay. No, I don't disagree with him in principle, for sure. But I
Mm.
disagree with the psychologizing of it, and I disagree with the fact that he's not.
Oh, we
easing
should
into
just
that.
like expect people to be going about their work and not coming back to church
Mhm.
because that's the season. That's the summer season.
Versus vocationally, to write this essay, then from the altar you go out into your vocation, you go back out into the garden, and these things will happen. You
Yeah.
will walk amongst the ruins of a fallen and sinful world.
No,
But in that, a shoot will grow from the stump of Jesse.
But like we saw in the introduction, there's a lot of running his own verbs.
Yeah.
So,
It's
and
a
even
lot
here,
of and then.
yeah, and it's just going to be the same with preaching because the preachers are the agents of change. Then.
When was this essay written?
45?
Okay. Yeah.
It's a book.
So he's a little bit ahead of the curve because it's the 50s when
Oh,
psychology.
I think people say that he's at the forefront
Yeah.
because his book was that influential.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
yeah, especially in the 50s, for
yeah.
sure. Like I said, his confirmation stuff was highly influential.
Well, because didn't he do like the whole? Now that you say that, I remember this. It's kind of like it's almost like the Benedict option or something. Where it's like create your own culture in the church.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah, okay.
Well, especially in the 50s and 60s.
In
You
the
don't
world,
wanna-
not of the world, and
Yeah, you don't want to be a part of the culture of the 50s and 60s, death of God,
Mhm.
countercultural movement. You want to be countercultural in the church, not in the cultural sense.
And it's probably worth noting here that something that happens in the 40s in the Bronx probably doesn't make its way here until at least the 50s or 60s.
That's true. Yeah.
So there tends
That's
to
very
be a
true.
lag between the coastal changes before they make their way to the Midwest.
Right.
Just
True.
culturally, but also
Yeah.
theologically.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there's much for every preacher to be concerned about. Okay. This problem cannot be dismissed with a shrug. Oh, I just did it. He had better do some serious thinking. Perhaps he is at fault. He has stressed the incidental rather than the essential. He has painted the cross with glowing colors and has failed to convince his hearers that the great destiny of man is union with God. Destiny union. Of course, the cross made this possible. No wonder he laments with the prophet, "Is it nothing to you, all ye who pass by?" The fundamental thought of Lent is
Here comes.
at one ment.
There it is.
Oh, is this where it came from?
Well,
Reconciliation,
you
union
can say
with
from
God.
Abelard, but yeah.
At one ment.
Mm-hmm.
I've never liked that as a definition for atonement
Mm-hmm.
because I use the Levitical one. It's blood covering.
Yeah. Well,
Not-
it's 1 John, mercy seat language, blood
Yeah.
seat language. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You'll notice there's something missing from all of this. It's there. It's implicit. It's a subtext.
What is Jesus doing?
Yeah, and also we're not dying.
Well,
no
I mean, he
death and
talks about
resurrection in
what's
this.
the essential. He's going to talk about what the essential.
Jesus died, but you don't.
I was struggling with that this week because Matthew records, Simon the Cyrene taking the cross.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that about? Is that just pointing forward to us bearing our
What's
cross?
really great is he came in from the country
I
to
know.
Jerusalem, and then.
And
that's one of
Roman
the most-
soldiers can compel you to do anything, I suppose.
No, but it was so profound that his children, his two sons, are mentioned later.
of
Simon's sons are mentioned.
Really?
Yeah, Rufus and.
Alexander.
Yeah,
Those are his sons.
pretty sure.
Sons of Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
The same Simon.
yeah, it's the same one.
Huh.
No, because I was just again, Martin was just talking about this in the sense of he comes from the country,
Yeah.
from the
From out.
margins into the center, which is in chaos, and then he's made to bear the cross of Christ, which is the stabilizing agent there, right? It's like he's trying to bring, and then the center in chaos says no, outside, go back outside the walls. So Christ is crucified outside the walls of the city, outside the walls of the garden, and he's not in the wilderness. He's next to the road. So he's not in the city, but he's not in the wilderness, which is how he unites the two. He brings the two back together again.
He's the father of that's according to Mark. He's the
Yeah.
father of Alexander and Rufus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's right. I knew I read that.
So no small thing carrying that cross for him. But the point is, like, Simon's a hinge character in the Gospels. He's extremely important, even though he's not mentioned very much. Extremely important.
So is that Rufus then the one that Paul greets in Romans?
Good question. I hadn't thought that far.
Does he end up in? Is it the same Rufus? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Who was in Rome at that point?
You would think.
Well, Simon. So anyway, bearing the cross, it's he's not going to die on the cross there.
But I'm just saying, it's so fat and pregnant with meaning, that one little thing on the Via Dolorosa.
And just like the women weeping, and I mean,
again, this is what I meant earlier. Like, you could just talk about Simon for an hour.
Could you? I spent 10 minutes, but
easily. No, but once you let it unspool for you, again, once it takes you and starts to unspool itself through you, you can go.
Because there's no direction given by the evangelist.
Right.
It's just dropped in there, and then you just
It's
move
there. And like Pageau says, right, the Bible is a distillation of stories. It's not the Odyssey. It's a distillation of what would be the Odyssey in Greek myth. And like Tolkien says, it's the greatest fairy tale ever told because it's actually true. It actually happened. So you could spend an entire Lent just on Simon bearing the cross, coming in from the country, being in the city, carrying the cross, his sons, Jesus. Like, it's all there in just that one little incident. You can sit with that for years or months.
Yeah, but you would have to have.
But we don't know how to do that anymore. We don't know how to
That's
just
what I was going to
sit.
say. You would have to have a childlike imagination.
Yeah.
Rather than just say, well, here's what the bare text says. Well, okay.
Correct. Right. Don't be a journalist. Right. This is
Well, you say right. I don't know. I think that's how we typically do it.
I know it is, because it's a very modern thing to do. Like, just the facts.
Well, but yeah, and I think we want to stick to the text. I get that drive to not embellish and not.
But you can be accurate to the text and still draw out the mystery of where you're located at.
Well, and we would learn that in our tradition from Luther himself, where
you go down around the corner and you'll meet Abraham and Sarah in Wittenberg.
What
I
I was thinking is more like when there'll be something said and he'll say, it is as if he said, and then he'll go on for a paragraph.
Right.
And it's embellishment. It's an imagination.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't think he departs from what the bare text says.
Right.
But he's trying to, allow it to breathe, right?
Well, I think that's where we actually err on the side of divinity, where we say, well, he's so far removed from us, we couldn't possibly. No, you're missing the point that he sleeps. We all sleep. We all know what it means to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's asleep in the boat, we can step back and go, what does that mean to sleep in the boat? Like, what's the higher heavenly meaning of him sleeping in the boat? Well, he's the master of the wind and the waves.
Yeah.
Like, if I fall asleep fishing, I don't stand up and say, calm down, and everything changes.
But I thought it was true God, and his eye never slumbers or sleeps.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why he says, you a little faith. Why can't you just let me rest?
The flesh is willing, the spirit.
Exactly.
Yeah. The
So now all of a sudden
willing.
we're descending. Now we're descending with Jonah into the Sea of Galilee with Jesus.
Yeah.
And
and that's the essential thing on Sunday with Abraham.
Right.
I mean, Abraham believes in the resurrection.
Right. Right.
It's
not said, though. But yet Jesus says he
that's
actually
the faith of Abraham. Yeah.
Well, he longed to see this day. Lots of kings and prophets long to see this day that you get to see, and you're blessed.
Yeah, right.
So what happens, we talk about this, is you have to have a holistic view of the Bible. You can't.
I think Abraham believed. I mean, he said, I think it's
Of course
explicit.
Abraham
We're
believed.
going to come back to you. That's
Yeah.
what he says to the servants.
Mhm.
And he's going to kill his son. Well,
Right.
what? I mean, is it implicit? Yes, it's implicit. That's
Right.
fine. Right. We want. Maybe that's the point. We're always looking for everything to be so explicit as to. Is it for confidence? Lack of doubt.
So,
maybe.
In literature, one of the critiques that I've heard recently is, so in Western society, we are obsessed with beginnings and endings. Everything has to have a beginning and an ending. It's not a good story if it doesn't have a beginning and an ending.
And the denouement.
Yeah, versus, well, actually, in the pre-modern, pre-industrial world, most stories started at like once upon a time, not in the beginning, but once upon a time,
right?
And then they end with, not they lived happily ever after. That's a Victorian twist. Either Beowulf dies, for example, or they just continue to rule as king and queen over their kingdom, and we just leave them. Well, what happened after that?
And
I don't know.
Continuing
Tell a story.
adventures.
Right. But we're obsessed with beginnings and endings. Everything has to have a good beginning and a good ending.
Before we started, we talked about Critical Drinker's latest video, right? And there's the one bit in there on One Piece where he's talking about the original manga.
Yeah.
And how it's 100
right.
volumes.
Whatever he's on, I want some of that. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the kind of story you're talking about. It's like 100 volumes in it. And the only thing that made it stop was the guy died.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Well,
he would have kept telling the stories.
Same thing. Chrétien de Troyes died before he could finish Parcel.
What's the one manga?
I think Homer died before he could finish the Odyssey. Technically,
probably
he could have kept going.
Oh, maybe Mark did too.
It ends with, again, he returns home, he shoots the arrow, wife, reconciliation, blah, blah.
No, what was the famous manga? I don't think it was in color. I think it was black and white. And unfortunately, it didn't get ended. But it's considered one of the greatest.
Okay.
I can't think of it. Unfortunately, the guy died.
I'm a big Lone Wolf and Cub fan. That's my jam.
That's not the one I'm thinking of. It's a one word.
Okay.
In English.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Somebody will know in the comments.
But the story has to be told. That's the point, right?
Right. The story will tell you when it's done, and if it's never done, then it's never done.
It may just end abruptly.
Chrétien de Troyes said he was divinely inspired. They're like, "Where'd you get the story from?" He's like, "I don't know. It just started coming to me." And like you said, in the Lord of the Rings, Tolkien's like, "Yeah, I knew the Rohirrim were there, but I didn't know anything about Theoden or any of that." I'm like, wait a minute. So you knew they were there, but you didn't know anything about them? He's like, yeah, they had to come to me.
So maybe what we're doing is limiting what we might call inspiration.
For sure, absolutely.
To being
rationalize everything.
Well, and the problem is like, okay, there's no new scripture. Fine, I don't have any problem saying that. The canon's fixed. It's done. Right, with the death of the last apostle.
But it's not, because we have an open canon in the Lutheran Church.
Well, I know, but
we have the Book of Jubilees. We have, because they're quoted by
they're Berserk. That's the one.
In the canon.
Berserker. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, Berserker, guts, 100%. Yeah.
I haven't.
But we have the Book of Jubilees. We have First Enoch that's being quoted.
We don't
have all these
those,
texts.
Though.
Again, they're non-liturgical, non-canonical, but they're seen as authoritative.
In I don't know, secondary, tertiary way. No, but what I mean is we limit our imagination. I don't think you can be a preacher and have a limited imagination. Actually, I don't know how you would ever do it. But we still try to keep it in check from getting too far.
Well, that's modernity in a nutshell.
Yeah, right.
That's pull the lever, shut up, consume.
So is it science, reason, rationality? That's kind of holding
We love explaining the data, but we don't know the meaning of life.
I mentioned that somebody was asking me about crucifixion and what it was like, and I'm like, well, I have this article from a medical journal, right? You can read it. And it's just gruesome. Yeah, it's brutal. It's very honest.
As you would. Again, I'm watching I hadn't thought about this, but it's so clear because Count of Monte Cristo set in France and the beheadings, the guillotine, the axe. We all know that. I never thought about the sledgehammer being used, but they did.
Really?
So if you were a bad guy and they beheaded you, you got the axe, quick and easy, right? Just a pinch. But if you were a really bad guy and they wanted to really...
They bludgeoned you.
They would hit you with a sledgehammer. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I never thought about that. And now it's in my head forever. I'm like, oh, that's an awful way to die.
Yeah, that is.
But it's the same thing with crucifixion. I just bring it up in Revelation. Like, if you don't need to see a crucifixion to know it's awful.
Right. Well, and if you're going to have union with Christ, then you're going to be joined with him in that kind of death.
Is it Abraham Heschel that wrote the book on the crucifixion? Which was
maybe
there's a little book I have it behind me. It's on the crucifixion. Heschel was Jewish, though. Probably wasn't.
But there's the point. It's like, okay, we're joined with Christ in his death. That's what the apostle says, right?
Yeah.
And in von Schenk, though, we're joined to him through the sacrament to his death. I mean, there's a layer of abstraction there, maybe. I guess I don't. But even then, you're not dying.
Right.
You're being rehabilitated.
That's what it was. The Illustrated Life of Jesus, Herschel H. Hobbs. Was that? No, that wasn't it. Anyways, it'll come to me.
Okay. All right, so back to the text. In order to challenge men and convince them of their destiny, just hear the emperor, it's your destiny. We must first make them see, as they have never seen it before, that sin, capital S, caused the disruption of this destiny, the end of all time or end of history or something, and that the death of our Savior brought man and God together again. They must then realize how important and valuable is the message of the cross, which brought back the prodigals to the Father's house.
Don't you love those sweet imperatives?
They must. But the dominant note is union. We've got our emphasis here. Unless they appreciate the end, they can never appreciate the value and value the means. Where's faith in this? I don't know.
Yep.
Ooh. I mean, convincing people what to think.
This little light of mine,
Yeah,
I'm gonna let it shine.
Well, how is this different from, I don't know, Dale Carnegie or something, right? Where just you need to convince people that they need the product.
The only thing holding you back is knowing you're being held back.
I watched a great breakdown video of all the toothpaste in the toothpaste aisle yesterday. It's really hilarious because it's like, this one has everything you need for both your teeth and your mouth. And then he goes to the next version up, Ultra, has even more and
of
better
what you need for your teeth and your mouth. Exactly.
We just have to convince people they need the Ultra Maxi whitening version. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Some years ago, look, he just went there. The great financier, statesman, industrialist, and art collector Andrew Mellon established a fund which would make it possible to erect a beautiful museum in our nation's capital. This great building now houses his priceless art collection. Consider what it costs to collect all these treasures.
A lot of human sacrifice, actually, it turns out.
Don't spoil it. He's painting a better picture than that. Think of the love and sacrifice that was poured into the collection. It reminds one of the collector of pearls in the parable which our Lord told.
Yeah.
For years he had collected priceless gems. Then he hears of a pearl beyond all price. It is in a distant land, but in order to get this pearl, he must sell all his treasures. He must, right?
That is absolutely not what the parable says.
Well, he did add to it. I don't remember him collecting other things, but whatever.
No, he didn't. He found it. It says he found it, and then he sold everything.
Then he sold everything for the field, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you would speak to the average New Yorker about it and say to him, quote, was it not wonderful for Mr. Mellon to give this great collection of art so that all can now enjoy the rich colors and beauty on painted canvas and woven tapestry? What would the reaction be? He would perhaps say, I'm not very much interested. It's a waste of money. The sacrifice of that collection does not mean much to him because he does not realize its value in the true sense.
Oh, he's just ignorant.
Yeah. But if someday he should learn the value, the great works of art, and to value the great works of art and to stand entrenched before the great masters, then he will make every effort to visit that museum and bring almost any sacrifice to enjoy it. For now, it means something to him.
It's got the aroma of the Frankfurt School.
What does the cross of Christ mean to you?
There it is.
I didn't read this before we started. I just knew I wasn't supposed to read it, so now I'm reading it with you. So we must learn to know what our true destiny in life is. We didn't talk about meaning and purpose before.
Going back in time.
How is it that we so often miss the great fundamental lesson, which is so basic on almost every page of the Gospels, because we're morons? Take that story of the poor lad who left his home. His greatest wrong was not that he wanted to enjoy wine, women, and song. We're back to the prodigal. Nor that he asked his father for the inheritance, but that he wanted to be independent of his father. We're back to union. The great problem which we faced in the world is not the problem of sin committed. That problem was solved on Calvary. The baffling problem of the prophet is that man still wants to be independent of God. This was the big mistake of our first parents in paradise. They wanted to be like God. They wanted a place where they could be absolutely independent. Man still loses his paradise because of his God almightiness. Well, that part's true. Our Lord purchased and won us with his precious blood. So every once in a while, he'll drop a line like that, which is curious, right? And you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that from the catechism.
Childhood catechesis.
Right, the second article. That we may be his own and live under him in his kingdom. The lament of God through the ages is, how often would I have gathered thy children together as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings?
Yeah, there's your feminine pattern.
Oh, okay, right, from the beginning, the mother thing.
Yeah.
Fine, God takes all of that into himself.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Jesus fills the whole hierarchy.
Right. I was just wondering earlier, but I get it. What is your destiny? Labor will say, shorter hours, better living conditions, increased wages. The industrialist will answer, greater industry. The capitalist, money. How many will say, my destiny is to be one with God? So this, just to take a break here, union with Christ. You mentioned it before because you have the Finnish school, which is much later. That's 90s.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
and then there's of course some figures of controversy since 2000 that have argued something similar to the Finnish school and tried to do it from the confessions.
It's essentially hijacking the worst parts of Orthodoxy and Reformed theology and blending them into something and calling it Lutheran.
Can a creature ever be independent of its creator?
So here's the thing. I'm going to answer in Paulson's language explicitly because I've heard him say this a lot on this point. Our destiny is not God. God's destination is us. So it's not we're going
he joins
towards
himself
him.
to us.
He comes to us.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit comes from the future. This is nesting in that the Holy Spirit comes from the future to tell us in the affirmative about the last day. So the Holy Spirit's always coming from the future to us.
It's not man ascending the ladder to heaven.
No.
It's the Son of Man descending.
The descent, right. Yeah. That he condescends. We've talked about this before.
And does he take us to himself? Does he lift us up from the valley? Sure.
Yeah, by taking us into the underworld.
Right. He goes down into the depths with us.
Right. He leads the captives in his train. And then through that, we're led up the cosmic mountain. But the problem is the denial of our humanity that God says is good. And we know it's good because he becomes a man.
Oh, so when the union language turns into deification.
Yeah. Deification, right. Yeah.
Being made. And
Hegel addresses this by saying, God doesn't need more Jesuses. He's got one of those. He needs more of you, right? In his simple way of saying it, profound, but true.
Right. And to have us created together in our mother's womb,
right.
For his sake, to be companions with God.
Right.
I think we can say that. He doesn't. Right. God doesn't want to be alone any more than we want to be alone. Right. And so to be joined to him, but we are already. And I think that's the other thing that I'm catching here is like, well, there's something lacking. I don't think he would say it this way, but it almost is implied. There's something lacking in the church today. There's something lacking in your baptism. There's something and it's your ignorance, lack of appreciation.
Right.
If only you knew what God had done for you.
Versus everything that comes out of a man is evil all the days of his life. All the imagination that comes out of his heart is evil. Everything that comes out of man that pollutes him comes out. Yeah. It's not the good that I want to do that I do, but the evil that I don't want to do. That's all. And the key phrase there is, I don't understand my own actions. If I don't understand my own actions, then understanding isn't my problem.
But I'm also not catching, and maybe he does it later in fairness.
Well, as we said, Luther's quote-unquote correction of Roman doctrine is this. Sin is concupiscence. That is, you have misordered love. You keep putting your love in the wrong place. Luther says, no, the first commandment isn't about love. The first commandment is about faith.
Right.
You trust the wrong things. So we have a fundamental distinction as Lutherans between the concupiscence of love and the concupiscence of trust.
But the greatest of these is love.
Correct. Right.
Right. But what love are we talking about? Yeah. Love is a person. Love
as we've said, when Jesus says to the blind man, your faith has made you well, he's saying your Jesus has made you well because faith needs an object. And it's clear that the gospel writer is saying that the object of the blind man's affection, his worship, is the one who healed him, Christ. Right. Faith is trust. Trust is faith. Pisteus is a relationship word. It's relational. You can't believe in your believing. That's what we believe as man. Sinful man says, I believe that I can believe, and that's enough.
Yeah, and that enoughness is, I think it's lacking, because I hear this just...
Think of it this way.
To the point of frustration, right?
I believe in marriage as an institution. Well, you haven't actually proven that you are married. You've just proven that you believe in something to believe it. Believing in something doesn't prove anything. It just shows that you can believe in something.
So a lot of this has to do with the telos of a thing.
100%. Yeah.
Like, so what's the end of marriage?
Correct. Exactly. And the end is the mystery of I'm married.
Yeah, I don't even know. I just know what it is.
Right.
I know the reality of marriage now.
Right now.
Yeah.
That's a Kairos moment.
I can't say where it's going to end or how it's going to go or...
No.
Why would I even want to?
At best, you reflect on where you started at in your marriage and where you're at today.
Well, and what we say at the start is what we believe is true at the end.
Everything that you say, I'm gonna make a sweeping universal statement here. Everything you say in your marriage vows is chronoskull, 100%.
You think so?
Because you have no idea what it means to be married. You have no idea. It's all theory to you. All theory.
Oh yeah. No,
and then you're married, and it becomes kairotic as you go. It becomes more and more kairotic.
You don't think it can be kairotic at the beginning?
No. You can appreciate it, but it's still all theory.
Well, you have no idea what you're saying.
Correct. It's all theory. It's all commentary.
Except,
Do
I
you-
mean, maybe.
Hey, do you promise to be with her through sickness and health? Absolutely. Until she gets terminal cancer.
Right.
Now you tell me what that thing means. When you ran off and left your wife because you couldn't be with her when
It
she was
is your
dying.
destiny.
Yeah, no. It's all theory until it happens. That's why failure is failure. You fail not because your heart's not in the wrong place or you don't understand. You fail because it's all theory.
I mean, the context of the
Until
vows
it happens.
is actually blessing.
Right.
I mean, they are petitions for blessing.
And by the way, you can live your whole life just on theory. Like my children may never drink or do drugs because they grew up with an alcoholic and a drug addict.
Who said it's not a good idea, and they're just going to use that.
Right. But
Fear-
I'm saying they could live off that theory for the rest of their life. I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily. What I'm saying is when the theory becomes a fact, that's when the deepening occurs. That's when the wisdom comes. That's when the encounter cracks you open and goes, now that stony heart's going to be made into a heart of flesh. Because you can live off a theory, but do you have compassion? Because maybe you never drink or use drugs because your dad was an alcoholic. But you're going to get cracked open in a different way then. You're still going to have to suffer. You're still going to get lost in the forest. It's just a question of how is the Lord going to lead you?
Yeah.
You're going to come out with a limp. It doesn't matter how. But whether it's through marriage or through your vocation that you're called into, somehow in some way you will be leaving this life.
So,
with
I
a
mean,
limp.
this is my challenge with the union with
Yeah.
God.
Right.
Is that he can speak so definitively about the telos of things.
Right.
And we can, in that it's been
Yeah.
revealed to us, right? With death and resurrection,
Yeah.
and eternal life, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But to the neglect of the present.
Yeah.
Right. And like we believe that all of heaven and the eternal feast is with us in the sacrament.
Oh yeah. Angels and saints pray for you.
And you are joined with God in the sacrament. Like fully, completely. There's no lacking of the union.
Well, it's like I said earlier, right? What is von Schenk focused on most? Is he really focused on the crucifixion most, or is he focused on our reaction to the crucifixion most? Like, where is he focused most?
On the change, yeah.
Yeah.
The change.
Yep, exactly. He's
So
so
far.
focused on the turn that
So
he's
far,
missed.
and maybe that's going to change. I don't know. We'll see.
But it's all linear. It's chronological. It's this, then this, then this, then this. Versus,
Yeah, because we had the time reference, right, with Lent to Easter and whatnot.
exactly. Yeah.
Which we all acutely know. I get it. My destiny is to be one with God? ? As soon as man realizes this, the cross will loom up in his life as the greatest thing in the world. It made man's destiny possible, union with God. At Bethlehem, it was shown. On Calvary, it was accomplished. I've heard that line before. No man understood the at-one-ment through Christ as Paul did. No man ever equaled Paul in grasping the full content of the crucified and risen Jesus. Well, that's probably true.
So we'll use number one. I completely disagree with him because of the Christ crucified from the foundation of the world. But number two, the most used image of our relationship with God is marriage. There's nowhere in Scripture where God says we got a divorce. Nowhere. Now, there's lots of places like in Hosea where we certainly
Played the
acted.
whore or whatever.
We acted as if we had no husband.
Right.
But yet, there's no place in Scripture where God says we're getting a divorce. I can't. Even when he says of Noah's generation, he repents of making man. He still saves him. Like, he's still, like, my wife drives me nuts, but she's my wife. She's my queen.
Right.
Never are we not the queen. So I disagree with von Schenk fundamentally because I think he's just grasped onto the wrong image of the relationship because he's so focused on justice. But God's
and if you're
justice
going to
is
use
an inversion
union,
of ours.
Use the marital union then.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Correct.
Instead of this
I don't
kind of-
become my wife the longer I'm married to her. I mean, in Minnesota in 2026, that's certainly accomplishable.
You do start to look like her a little bit.
Well, you do. You kind of, George Orwell said, by the time you're 50, you have the face you deserve, right? And I think it's, yeah. And if you're married for 30 years, I'm coming up on 30 in May here with my wife. Yeah, you do look like each other. You look like you've suffered together.
People say of us, you guys look so young. And like, well, we're with young people all the time.
There's that too.
We
for
have
sure.
young people.
Yeah.
Right? We're surrounded by young people.
But I'm just saying, if you have the face you deserve by the time you're 50, and then you look at your wife and you go, well, yeah, we've been through it. We've been through it together, so of course we look like each other.
Yeah, or you could do it with the presidents, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If
If you do 4 years, you come out gray-haired, and and wisdom.
Look at soldiers in combat.
Yeah.
When they come out of combat, the only people that look like them are their comrades.
Soldiers.
Other soldiers, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so, no, again, what you focus on most, you become. Well, if you're focused on your spouse all the time, guess what? But you don't literally change then into the other person. You're not like an African frog that changes genders. Whereas the fundamental drive of theosis is eventually you'll become like Christ. Which, like I said, I still think that's original sin. That's just saying, it's just a fancy way of saying I want to be like God. Versus like, I'm made in the image of God, I'm good.
Yeah,
good.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest.
I don't want to be the bridegroom. I'm good. I'm good being the bride. I'm good.
Yeah, but we look at ourselves and say, but I'm not complete. Right? I mean that's what he's
There it
getting
is.
after
There's that
here.
insatiable appetite of the sinner.
There's
again.
something missing. There's something lacking here.
Versus, yeah, no, when I drink the cup, I'm whole.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be the confession. All right. So where were we? No man ever equaled Paul in grasping the full content. He says,
There it is again.
For Christ also hath once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us back to God. There's italics. Being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Spirit. Oh, there's the Spirit. This is man's destiny, reconciliation. Be ye reconciled with God. Therefore, after the first communion, Jesus prayed that they may be one with us. John 17.
Yeah, united with us.
That has ever been the heavenly desire.
I wouldn't use that word. I would use the word that's the heavenly reality. It's not a desire. It's reality. It's 1 Corinthians. He's quoting 1 Corinthians. He's drawing out of 1 Corinthians with this language.
Yeah.
But Christ reconciled us to the Father. But like I've said, and Luther says this is where I learned it from, when they eat the fruit, God's not changed. His person doesn't change. The man and the woman are changed, but he's not. He's still the same Christ. He's still the same Savior. He's still the same Lamb.
Right.
But now he appears to them as a lion because they're changed. Their perspective of God has changed, but he's still the Lamb.
Yeah, and I think I can hear why von Schenk was so popular, and this work in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not all that different than what you might hear from on the religious programming on TV at the time. It's in that spirit of
Billy Graham.
Yeah, I was thinking Graham or who was the Roman Catholic guy?
I know what you're talking about.
Fulton Sheen. Fulton Sheen.
Yeah. That's a better example.
Both of them in their own way, from their own tradition, have a. We would call it an altar call, callously, but it's a call to faith.
Yeah.
And they believe that faith is worked by the will in some
and you
way.
get the language of psychology bleeding through.
Right.
It'll get stronger in the 50s.
Like if you really knew what is Golgotha, what does it mean? This is the beginning of the next chapter.
100%.
What does it mean? I mean that's you need to figure it out.
Yep.
Not necessarily figure it out in a he would reject the reasonable way, but it's like a spiritual psychology mix.
Correct.
Because it has this emotive kind of thing going on in
Read
it.
Paul Tillich, The Courage to Be, which is really the full fruition of this kind of stuff.
Which was later, that's like 60s?
Yeah.
Tillich?
I think so. I think it's late 50s, early 60s when he writes Courage to Be. Let me look it up.
Yeah.
But
He's going to talk about...
It's a rejection of the bondage of the will. It's a rejection of the symbol.
Because it's kind of confusing because he does reject...
1952.
Oh, so it's right at the same time. He rejects sentimentality, von Schenk does. And
yet...
Do
you not appreciate what happened on the cross? Do you not understand good art?
That's a sentimental argument.
Yeah, it's romanticism.
Well, but it's also that double speak, like you talked about, language games. And I guess I'm struggling, because I expect this is what people want from Holy Week, especially what they want from Easter. They want the feel goods at Easter. They want the feel bads during Holy Week.
Right.
And we dare to have the sacrament on Good Friday.
Yeah.
Not because because it's the participation in the body of Christ.
Yeah, we can play make believe. That's fine. But reality is he is alive and he is here. So let's not pretend he's not in the room with us. That's
there's a liturgical reenactment. Don't you love that?
Yep.
of the suffering and death of Jesus.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
go down through death and come back to life again.
That's fine. I love symbolism. I'm
Right,
all for it.
right. Look, yeah.
But let's not pretend that he didn't rise from the dead, okay? Let's not do that. He's alive. He is risen. Because you and I have both had funerals during Holy Week. We've both had funerals during Lent.
Mm-hmm.
All bets are off when you're at a funeral during Holy Week or Lent, which is...
I had a wedding during Holy Week one year.
Well, I mean, that's pretty appropriate. You're descending into death. So
I did not schedule it. I inherited it, but it was still...
But no, a funeral basically strips away all the liturgical pomp and says, okay, let's get down to brass tacks here.
Actually, when I think of how we conduct funerals, it's like Holy Week and Easter all compressed in one.
Correct, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because at the graveside, you say, Alleluia, as Christ is risen. I don't care what season it is.
Correct. Yeah.
It has to be said here.
It's only because of Easter that we can actually liturgically follow that passion play, that mystery play.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Without Easter, you can't do this. Because one, it's stupid. What are you doing? You're celebrating the death of somebody 2,000 years ago. And number two, it's crushing to be reminded, hey, by the way, you're going to die. Jesus died. He didn't come back. And if he can't come back, you're definitely not coming back. Well, that's not. Why would you show up for that? I can get that on any number of movies or TV shows.
Do you want to hear a little bit about sacrifice?
Of course. I live for it.
I don't know how far you want to go into the next chapter. But that's where he's going to...
I'm good whenever.
Okay. Well, I know you are. But hey, by the way, speaking of...
This feels like my Lenten penance.
Exactly. Your absolute least favorite episode as of late is one of our most popular episodes of the last 6 months. The Postman episode.
Oh, really?
People really watch it. They rewatch it. I don't know. We must have said something.
Well, good for you.
I guess. I mean, I said we're reading something that has been influential, but is definitely not Christian. Anyway, I won't say that about this, but it's, well, anyway. What is Golgotha? What does it mean? It means that none other than God himself was torn and mangled to bring man into oneness with him. Torn and mangled. This is not a nice picture. How we should like to get away from it. How we should like to deny that our only approach to God is by way of Calvary. I would agree with that. Turn to your Bible. How is God approached? From cover to cover, we read the one unanimous reply. God is approached by sacrifice. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
This was the experience of Cain, Abel, Noah, Abraham, Elijah, the prophets. All the sacrifices of the temple led up to our Lord's sacrifice on Calvary. Sacrifices were offered to approach God, to plead with God, to make up for man's insufficiency. Is that right? That's not Kleinig's position. We're going to have to read Kleinig on Leviticus. We have to do Kleinig on Leviticus.
It is the Roman Catholic position.
It is the Roman Catholic position. What is Calvary? This, that God gave himself on the cross as the one perfect, all-sufficient sacrifice for the sins of the world. Okay. When men realize what this really means, they stumble. Oh no, you say. That is not true. The cross is very popular. The Lenten services are the best attended services. Women are fond of wearing the cross. It's beautiful, the cross. This is just not my experience. Oh well. Very few realize what the cross really is.
There it is. You know, again, he uses all these Platonic words. He just peppers them.
Some view the cross sentimentally. They sing sentimental songs about it. Were you there? So that men have been sickened by this meaningless cant, and the earnest seekers after God try to find some other way. They know that a sentimental cross has no depth.
Remember when I said earlier, a couple months ago, how nominalism was really opening the door for modern psychology because they internalize these things?
Everything's internalized.
He's a nominalist.
Yep.
That's what he's doing. Yeah.
Yep. To others, the cross is something vague, quite comforting, but still quite vague. They respect the cross from the distance. They feel that it ought to mean something to them, but in fact, it means very little. They think of Christ only as a bleeding ghost on a faraway cross. I mean, it all sounds very nice. It's very poetic. Nice prose. Young people today are often quite frank. There are those who say, "What do you mean by the cross? We have heard this story. We have heard it beautifully told, but frankly, it means little to us. Why can't you tell us about the cross so that it really means something to us? So that it means something to us today."
Modern audiences.
Right, in a world in which we are living. It is a difficult request, but it is a challenge which we must meet because that is the way many people feel about the cross.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, in order to get the meaning of the cross, we must become as little children. Agreed. There is no other approach to the kingdom. Agreed. You cannot rationalize yourself into the kingdom of God. True.
Agreed.
The second step is to find the key.
There it is.
The only key for Bethlehem is love. The only key for Calvary is love. Love.
Would it be a golden key?
And what do you mean by what do you mean by love? Love
Capital
is
L love. Calvary is Jesus. Bethlehem is Jesus.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
if we go that way, or just generic God is love, without
Still,
going all the way in.
yeah. I mean, love is the fulfillment of the law. Is really
The only
the
key
heart.
that opens Calvary is Jesus, the cross.
They're cleaning our carpets. I just want to make sure they're still
Oh,
here.
okay.
What happens when love comes to earth? It suffers. Love must always suffer. Why must love suffer when it is born? Because from the moment of its birth, it faces a deadly enemy. The deadly foe is self, all caps.
Freudian psychology,
We are the
along
ones.
with the neutering of the Son of God.
I know it's impersonal there.
Yes.
Was it not so in the life of our Lord? As if that's separate from love. God is love. I am way to
Jesus is God, therefore Jesus is love. Yeah.
Immediately after that little babe was born of Mary, the struggle began. What? There was no struggle with love and
Funny how
self before?
we've named his humiliation starts at conception, not not afterwards.
It continued to Calvary, and it continues down through the ages, for the sufferings of Christ abound in us. What suffering, or that suffering is the result of the clash between love and self. Love struggling in conflict with selfishness.
So here's the thing, folks. Before Freud made this super popular and the Enlightenment made it super popular, we didn't talk about the self. We talked about the soul. So take out the word self in this essay, and you know what this essay says? Nothing. It says nothing. If you were to read this essay in the 1400s, it means nothing. Self is literal sin. Like self is turning away from.
Anytime you talk of the self, this is the thing with the union with Christ.
Yes.
Is that it also presumes that you can be disconnected. I said this before. Like you can be a creature of the Creator and be disconnected from the Creator.
We live and move and have our being in Him, and He is all in all. But
well,
you can
isn't
still
it the
carve out a
essential
niche for yourself.
Isn't essential confession? I mean, you could use Joseph's narrative as explicit. There is that God was active through the whole thing,
Well, of course.
even with Judah, selling
Yes.
him into slavery, and
Right. Joseph doesn't carry the promise forward.
Joseph's not is not the son of the promise. No,
Correct.
right. But God used Judah's sin to redeem Judah in His home.
Numerous times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he works through Joseph and this convoluted story that is crazy and dreams and in order that many souls would be kept alive to this day, as Joseph says.
Joseph's wife's not Jesus' grandma. Neither is Judah's official wife, Jesus' grandma. Tamar is.
Yeah, right. Be his son's wife, his daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my point was that
Where's the justice in that, I ask you?
so because it almost sounds as if like God's not active in your life because you live apart from Him.
Correct.
As if you could ever live apart from Him.
You're right.
We've talked about this being Christ haunted from what's her name?
Flannery. Yeah.
Flannery. Yeah.
Yep.
People choose to live as if there is no God. Fine.
Right.
But they're still going to encounter God as He is known. It's just how He's going to be known to them is not going to be as pleasant.
The most neurotic Christians are the ones who go into the Old Testament in particular looking for morality. If you go into the Old Testament looking for human morality, you are going to be driven insane. Like I was talking with you yesterday about Samson and being compared to Christ. It's like...
And my first reaction to that is I can't go there with you because I cannot make Samson into a moral character.
Right. He's not moral.
No, he's immoral.
Right.
But neither is Christ. That's
Correct.
the real problem.
Born a fugitive, dies with criminals, rises from the dead.
I mean, dying for the sins of the world is a fundamentally immoral thing to do.
Right.
Because we're each responsible for our own sin. Right.
Yeah, where's the justice in
Yeah,
that?
it's completely unjust that all this weight of the world's sin would be put on one man.
Right, which goes back to Anselm and Abelard asking, who do you actually die for then? Like, did he die for Adam's sins or just the sins of people after him? Did he die for good people? What does it mean to be good? Who are the righteous? What if you sin after you're forgiven? Does that count? And we're like, all means all. And
But
it's
I
like,
mean,
well,
in that way, maybe we agree. slightly with von Schenk here, is that, that's the love of God, that he would give his son unto death. And is love justice? I mean, is he doing kind of a law gospel thing? He's just using different terms?
For Augustine, the cross is God's exclamation mark in history. Like, this is how much I hate sin. It's a giant screaming, pay attention, I hate sin. This is essentially what von Schenk is doing with the crucifixion. He's following Augustine and saying, really, the crucifixion is just God screaming throughout all of history, this is serious. Okay, now what? Well, do something.
Yeah.
Well, what? Well, once you understand, it's like, what? So at the last day when I'm judged, God's going to show me the person that I should have been rather than the person that I am? Is that hell? Is the hell of hells God just shows me the person that I was supposed to be, that I was destined to be, but I rejected my destiny? So then I became this? This is Back to the Future 2, by the way. Right?
The worst of the franchise, yes.
Right. But I'm saying is, what he says sounds okay or even good. But if you just start to dig at it, everything he says is just free will theology. It's just the old Adam's
be
theology.
all that you could be.
Yeah. This is old Adam religion. That's all this is. You could become a Buddhist and you're still going to come out on the same side of this.
Yeah, because their union with God is to escape suffering.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus down and in.
I don't know if I'd say that's all it is, but it's got a heavy tinge.
Again, there's only sacrificial and sacramental religion. And there's only one sacramental religion, Christianity.
Which is, ironic, given the purpose of this book.
Right.
Is to confess the sacrament.
And yet it does not.
Not so far.
It's just another version of sacrifice with a 50s patina or 40s patina on it.
Yeah, I know he was accused of being a Romanist.
He admitted he was.
Yeah. And we've heard this from contemporaries. I mean, it's still true today.
But his argument was that Luther was Catholic and we're not Lutheran because we're not Catholic.
Yeah.
That's my argument. We're not Catholic. We're Protestant. But when I say Catholic, I mean Catholic, not Roman. Right. Whereas he's saying Roman. That Luther was more Roman Catholic than he was Protestant. And we got to come back to that. We got to get back more towards that side of things.
Right. And that way you have something more akin to, I don't know, like Melanchthon's accommodations, you know, with Corpus Christi or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Melanchthon was just accommodating. There was, actually, it was kind of a famous thing, is that one of these promoters of Christian nationalism said that in a true Christian nation, Corpus Christi processions would be banned. It caused all sorts of problems. This is a Reformed person, of course.
Okay, there you go.
Right. They're like, well, we want Christian national, just not that Christian.
Okay, so we had Christian nations previously.
We did, yeah.
It was called Christendom. And you know what they had all the time? Corpus Christi processions.
I know.
And they still do in those Christian nations, by the way.
Well, maybe not the little Reformed ones.
Yeah, exactly. Geneva didn't have them. Just be specific. We're trying to recreate Geneva.
I love that. I love that Calvin was too liberal for Geneva.
Isn't that great? He made the rules, and then they're like, you're kind of liberal for these rules that you made up. You got to go.
High-strung Calvin.
Again, Charlie Chaplin came in second in his own lookalike contest.
That's fantastic.
That's Calvin.
Let's see. So where do we leave off? The cross, therefore. Oh no, we didn't read this part. The cross threw its shadow over the manger. We've said that. The wood of the cross.
Shadow and promise.
Look at
the cave.
There could have been no other end but that eternal love, all cap, should end on the cross. Quote, I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how I am straitened till it be accomplished, said Jesus.
Like the Strait of Gibraltar, not straightening something out, but basically the same thing.
The strait.
Yeah.
The cross is therefore not one of the many incidents in our Lord's life. The cross is the final act in that essential conflict with selfishness, in the struggle for the human race to be freed from selfishness.
Now we're getting to the point. The true union with Christ is to give away our life as a sacrifice, give up our selfishness like Jesus did.
Yep.
Exemplum Christi.
Yep. To reach its final destiny of union with God. But this conflict was active from the very beginning. The boy Jesus exclaimed, "Wist ye not that I must be about my Father's business?" In the temptation, there was the choice between all riches and power or poverty.
Always the choice. Always the choice. Because without the choice, there can be no sacrifice. Time plus choice equals...
So it is the sacrifice of Jesus that we're joined to that then makes us live lives of sacrifice for others.
Time plus choice equals Christian freedom. That's free will theology in a nutshell. It doesn't matter how it's presented. Time
it's not
plus
really
choice
free.
equals freedom.
Because you're bound to
Oh God, you're a slave.
right.
You're a slave to proving that you've used your time and your choice in a godly, God-pleasing way. That is absolute subjugation. That's, as Freddie said, that's faith through gritted teeth. Now we're just back to the pagan gods. Please don't visit me on a bad day. I don't want to be punished. I don't want you to abandon me.
If only we knew what Jesus was really doing.
You know, you should baptize me, buddy. He's like, we got to do this to fulfill all righteousness. Well, aren't you all righteousness? Yes. So when did you plan this out? From the beginning. Cousin o' mine. Jesus planned from Genesis 1 to be baptized in the Jordan River by John.
Do we? Then he does crucifix. I'm looking forward here. Crucifixion in love, crucifixion in my struggle. So it's going to be anthropocentric there too. Using Paul, crucifixion in my crucifixion.
Right.
Ooh.
Here's
that part's underlined in this
Here's
version.
one of those odd statements that I have to make for you to sit with and wander through. So we think that we imagine Christ. We imagine faith. We imagine liturgy. We imagine all these things. We imagine all of life, actually. This is the way we think, right? Like my truth and vision boards and all these things. But we are dreamed by Christ. Like he dreams us, like he imagines us, and then it becomes real. Like that's what we are. That's what the mind of Christ is. Like we are imagined by Christ, and then we come to be. All things were made through him. He imagines us, and then we come to be. We don't imagine anything. We don't create anything. We're imagined into reality. He imagines us. So, like, we are the dream of God. Like he alluded to it at the very beginning, but he could never go here because it's sacramental talk. Which is like God dreams us into being. We are the imagination of God. That's what it means to be a true artist. To be a creator is he created us. He dreamed us. So literally, moderns are like, we're all in a simulation and there's a programmer, blah, 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 pantheistic bullshit. Rather than like, no, you're close. You're sniffing around, but you're missing the tree, which is he dreamed you. You're here because he created you. He dreamed you. So life is a dream. It's just that we are in God's dreaming. We're in his imagining. And the difference is that when I dream, I have to ask what it means, to Von Schenk's point, versus when God dreams, he goes, hello, Donovan. I dreamed you last night, and here you are. So then what's left for you to do? And I say this because now you can collapse all time into kairotic moment, which is that from the very beginning of everything, you were already, this is it. Luther talks about this in his Romans lectures in 1517, by the way, and says you should never talk about this publicly because it will destroy people's faith. He's saying this to his students. Like, when you go out in the pulpit, don't preach about this stuff, man. You're going to kill people's faith by saying that God intended for you to do this from the beginning. It's all part of his divine will. But it's the truth. How could you die for the sins of people that lived 2,000 years after you or before you if you didn't already dream this, if you didn't already imagine this? How can Paul say, how can Revelation say, John say, this is the Lamb of God crucified from the foundation of the world, if it hadn't already been this way to begin with? Everything's happening in the mind of Christ, and then it becomes reality. The Logos speaks, and it happens. That's why Abraham can say, don't worry, he'll provide a Christ for you. You can't only say that if it already happened.
Right.
And then it happens. So
God will provide the sacrifice.
Yeah, so then you don't need faith anymore once it happens. I don't need faith when I'm drinking his blood. I'm drinking it. I need faith to come to it. I need faith to believe it is his blood. But it doesn't. If I don't believe it's his blood, it still doesn't change the fact that it's his blood. Nothing changes if I don't believe it. He's still Jesus. He's still God. He still rose from the dead, whether I believe it or not. That's how this works.
Yeah, and I think the hard part with Von Schenk, at least what I'm finding here, is I think others will hear the criticism and say, you're just being too hard on him. He's just, right. He's trying to speak in such a way.
Because he's leading you into hell and despair. We read this in Luther in the Schmalkald articles. He's leading you into hell and despair. That's where this ends up at.
And he would, I think others would argue. I'm gonna give the counterpoint.
Yeah, for sure.
We're gonna steel man it. Is that he's interested in a church that has lost its first love, I guess is what he would
Sure.
say.
Yeah.
And that where are we seeing lives lived under the cross and self-sacrifice for the neighbor?
Yeah.
And how can I, as the preacher in my place here, and then by extension through this book, encourage others to embrace this kind of sacrificial life and living?
Yeah.
So that the church is something, I guess, more valuable.
Yeah.
Valuable to us personally, but then also valuable to our neighbor, because look at how they love one another.
I think too, and if we ever wanted to do this, we're free to do this, but I think that von Schenk is heavily influenced by an extremely popular book that was incredibly influential on an entire generation of people.
Can you use more superlatives, please?
Christus Victor by Gustav Aulin, which was published in 1931.
Have we not read that?
I don't think so. Theories of Atonement came from Gustav Aulin, came from that book, Theories of Atonement. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
And it's in Swedish, it's called The Christian Idea of the Atonement. It was the top 3 most influential books of its generation.
I don't know if I would want to read it next week, but we could come to it at some point.
It is a landmark. It's like Barth's Romans commentary.
Oh yeah.
Like Ferdy was still wrestling with people who were pushing Christus Victor in the late 90s.
We read it as not necessarily negative.
There's a lot of Lutherans that like it a lot. It's one of the few books I think that unites LCMS and ELCA and Wells Lutherans. Is you have those who love it and go perfect, and those who attack me for saying that there's no such thing as a theory of the atonement. There is the actual atonement, because there are seminary professors right now teaching theories of the atonement as if that's legitimate. Because the theory is it never happened.
Well, so you're right, and what we're getting here is very theoretical language.
That's why I say this doesn't actually mean anything. He keeps asking, what does this mean? But he doesn't actually provide any concrete action other than your own actions. Where's the actual sacrament?
Well, even in receiving the sacrament, which will come in a few
it's
chapters.
Abstracted. Yeah.
Listen to what he says. I'll just read this part. This could be a good way to end. What is Calvary? That God himself was torn and mangled and battered and bleeding to bring me back to him. Calvary is love, which is the only force that can bring back his prodigal world. But you will say, how can Holy Communion link me to the reality of Calvary? We cannot repeat the sacrifice. That was final when Jesus cried out, it is finished. Consider again how God is approached. All down the history of religion, there has been but one way. The earliest records of man show that it is the universal instinct to approach God through sacrifice. So, he turns the sacrament into a sacrifice. Again, which is the criticism, right? The Bible tells us...
In Roman Catholic theology, it's called the trans-temporal sacrifice.
There you go. The Bible tells us of Cain, Abel, and others. It continues throughout the Old Testament in the sacrifices of the temple. All these sacrifices led up to and were fulfilled in the one great sacrifice on Calvary, the perfect, all-sufficient sacrifice for man's sins, which he had said earlier. What is the temple sacrifice? It consisted of self-oblation, shedding of blood, and thanksgiving. What has communion to do with that? Just this. The Old Testament altar was fulfilled in the New Testament altar. The two have never been separated. The broken body and blood and poured out blood are still at the center and call for surrender and self-oblation, for thanksgiving and the eating of the sacrificial food. Right? So there's all man's action. Surrender, self-oblation, thanksgiving, and eating.
Self.
Well, but you're not being selfish anymore, though.
Oh, it's so masturbatory.
This was in the mind of Jesus as he sat with the 12, blessed the bread and wine, saying, this is my body, this is my blood, shed for you. Where given and shed on the cross. Thus Jesus instituted the altar of the New Testament on the basis of the temple altar and linked up the redemptive work, especially sacrifice on the cross, with the communion. I don't want to read anymore. This is also my problem with, I actually know folks that refuse to use the word testament. They want to use covenant for the Lord's Supper.
Yep.
And because they want to do this. They want to join the two. Now, I think the Old Testament finds its fulfillment in the New. I have no problem saying that. But I think we read the Old wrong.
Well, again, it's a matter of telos. It's a matter of the terminal.
So this is why the Kleinig Leviticus work is so helpful. We just read Kleinig, so we don't have to read it. We can do it someday. But he does not see it as sacrificial. The Levitical tabernacle temple is sacramental. It's God giving himself. And yes, there's sacrificial actions, if you like, but they're only signs of God's giving to you. They're the means by which he uses to deliver grace, mercy, and peace. And yes, it's the only thing that makes any of the blood of bulls and goats influential or important or whatever you want to say is the death of Jesus. He fills them with meaning, not they fill the cross with meaning. So you see the direction difference.
Yeah.
Reading back, all Scripture testifies of me, and then you go back and you read, oh, that's not at all what I thought was going on there. Like, Abraham is God the Father offering up his son. Like, that's not. And does Abraham even know what he's doing? No, it doesn't. Doesn't even matter. Does he think he's going to appease God with the sacrifice of his son? It doesn't even say that, right? That's not the point of the story. But usually the questions, like with the Abraham story, is, well, how could he even imagine? I'd just like, well, everybody's sacrificing children in that day and age, right?
Yeah.
Fine, okay, but that's not the point, and that's not why God told the story. It's to testify of Christ again, the ram caught in the thicket, right?
Yeah.
To give his life for for Isaac, and for Abraham, and for us. So yeah, okay. Now I know why I didn't read it. I think I did try to read it for a paper or a class. That's why I have a PDF copy of it here. I don't know if I was attuned, to it then, but it is aggravating.
Yeah.
Because it sounds
serpentine.
Well, because it's devotional, if that makes sense, with psychology and.
No, it's serpentine. There's no stability here. This isn't tree stuff.
But that's why it's ironic. He studied with Pieper. I mean, Franz Pieper would not.
Yeah. Well, again, the student doesn't always, seek to carry the legacy of the teacher forward. Sometimes the student says of the teacher, "I got to fix this."
Right.
I had a professor who studied with Rudolf Bultmann, and loved Rudolf Bultmann, but also acknowledged, like, yeah, he had a lot of flaws. And
maybe that's worth mentioning is that I've heard stories from the old guys about this. That they did call it the age of dead orthodoxy.
Yeah.
And then part of the liturgical renewal was trying to bring back just a liveliness.
Yes.
To the confession or to the church.
Right.
They perceived that people were just going through the motions. They didn't really know why they were doing what they were doing. Their heart wasn't in it.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. And I'm like, well, that's true for me too. I don't understand. I'm not always there emotionally. That's not the point.
Right.
Because now I'm just inserting myself and my own opinions about things into,
right,
even to the effectiveness of the thing. Like if I don't speak with the fullness of passion or something from the pulpit, then people won't believe. It's like,
right.
I think the most dead Orthodox preacher probably did more than any of the most eloquent guys did. Because it's just say the words, say what Jesus said to say, and
well, I think what we as Lutherans bring to the table is, I sent you this the other day, which was the talk of when I was studying Anglican history a little bit. The church used speech, it used sacred drama, it used liturgy, it used vigil, and the Anglican Church abandoned this. They banished it, actually, and they abandoned holy water and the sign of the cross and the richness of the images that the Catholic Church possessed.
They kept the rood screen, though.
But they kept the rood screen, and then Cromwell and Elizabeth got rid of those, or Elizabeth and Cromwell. I always do that wrong. It's Cromwell comes 40 years after Elizabeth. Then they burned those down. But the point is this, is that all of those things, as we find out, so the Protestants got rid of that stuff and then later brought it back because they had to.
When they brought it back, they lost. Is that the point?
Well, yeah, but so they brought it back, but they stripped it of meaning. They stripped it of its symbolism, and they went, well, we're gonna bring it back, but we're gonna change the meaning to suit more of where we're at, our sensibilities. Versus, okay, so the sacred speech, the sacred drama, the liturgy, the vigil, the holy water, the sign of the cross, the rood screen, all of these things symbolically, so valuable, so vital to the church.
Can be, yeah.
What you simply do is just remove the sacrificial theology from them and reverse it and go, no, this is all sacramental. This all points us back to Christ and what he's doing. Yeah. The imagery is not the problem. It's what you're using it for. That's why when people come and go,
Which is why they got rid of it in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's baby with the bathwater kind of thought.
Well, no, they removed sacramental.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
the less, and then there was the Anglo-Catholic kind of
Yeah, right.
dialogues, and
Yeah.
so then they had to bring back some sacramental iconography, basically.
Right. But it's saying, why is there water in your font? Is there a baptism today? Well, big picture, there's a baptism every day. It's yours.
Yeah.
Small picture, this is just to remind you of your baptism. That's all it is. It's just to remind you of your baptism, because we need tactile things as human beings. We need physical touch.
Right.
We need the encounter with the sacred.
They brought back artwork too.
Yeah.
Even though it initially had rejected it.
Right.
Same reason.
That way, when you go into your garden, you can be like, oh, altar, heaven and earth, garden, heaven and earth, rain, holy water. It pulls it all together. Versus, well, that seems really Catholic. Well, it is Catholic, and it's good. It was affirmed by the 4 ecumenical councils, and if you want to go deeper into the 7, sure. But it's not Roman. I'm not standing in my garden offering a sacrifice to God. Rather, I'm offering thanks and praise for the sacrifice that gave this garden to me in the first place as a gift. The way that you escape sacrificial language and theology is everything's a gift coming from the Father of lights above, who is good.
And even an emphasis on Thanksgiving can cause a problem then.
Yeah.
Because it can take away again from the givenness. Because now it's only gift if I say thanks. Well, no, it's gift regardless of whether you
if you say thanks, it actually ceases to be a gift because now there's a price tag, there's a receipt.
Well, the way that we do thanks,
Say thank you.
Yeah.
Versus you don't have to say thank you. It's all gift. Again, my apple trees produce apples whether I say thank you or not. In fact,
or whether you command them to or not.
They sometimes grow when I'm not even paying attention. Right?
Can you hear them growing?
No, but I can hear the corn growing. That's yeah.
Isn't that weird? That's weird.
But yet, excuse me, that's all of life. In fact, the taking of the fruit rather than receiving it as gift is you refuse to acknowledge that that tree is going to produce fruit, whether you eat the fruit or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's refusing to acknowledge that all the other trees that provide you with fruit and all the other plants and all the other roots and all the other means of daily bread that are given to you already, they're there. They were there before you, actually.
Yeah.
Like he made them and then said, hey, man, look what I made. This is for you. It's all gift. So the turn away from the sacramental, the turn away from the promissory is the turn away from gift language, gift living, gift. So at the end of every service, I say to my people, you're all a gift. You're a gift to each other. You're a gift to the world. You're a gift to me. You just are. And you're a baptized child of God. So go in the peace and freedom of Christ to serve the Lord. Because they don't believe that. Because the whole world tells them you're a commodity. You're here to be bought and sold. No, you're a gift. And you're a gift to be blessed. And in the blessing, you give the manna to the next person who comes along and says, man, I'm starving. Well, here, man, I'm full. Take what I have. Right?
Yeah.
It's only out of gift that you get fullness. It's only out of fullness that you can feed others. And so he's on the right track. Sacrificial theology is on the right track. It's looking for the gift to be given so that we can all eat and be full. It's just the fact that you think you're doing something. Like the child who's riding bike with his father and his father's pedaling the bike. You're just along for the ride, dude. That's all you are.
Right.
Well, yeah, but I still had to. No, he lifted you up and put you in the saddle. You didn't even do that. You did nothing. You're a child. Be a child. And I think von Schenk, even though he says it, he doesn't believe it. That is, be a child. I think he thinks it psychologically, psychoanalytically, neurotically, but I don't believe that. And also, of course, Carl Jung's running around at this time, and he's super pop.
I'm also kind of struck then by what you were saying earlier about your father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and did you say that on air? Or was that before? I can't remember.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no. But, you know, God the Father says to us, I love you. Yeah. And he tells us over and over.
Yep.
And we need to hear it.
Yes.
We don't actually have to acknowledge it, though. I mean,
so what I learned from Robert Bly is this. We're all born needing a certain kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Bly grew up Midwestern, Minnesota, Lutheran. So he hates Christianity because he hates Minnesota Lutheranism. He just does. It bleeds out of him, right?
Yeah.
It's almost comical if it wasn't so often.
Because it's the more pietistic variety, right?
Well, and because I'm from Minnesota and I grew up in the same dirt that he did, it is a little bit too close to home. But
right.
So Bly, when he talks then, he says, we are on, like I was born, he's talking about himself, and he took care of his alcoholic father at the end of his dad's life. Also, same situation as me, minus the taking care part of the farm. But He goes, we're all born needing a certain kind of love. And our fathers can't give it to us. My father couldn't give it to me. This way, like, there's other fathers that have given it. Like, they can, right? My father couldn't because of Vietnam. His father couldn't because of his life circumstances. And you grew up needing that love. And other people then who were born needing a certain kind of love, who had fathers that gave them that love, look at you and go, I don't get it. What's your problem? Like, he did the best he could. You know,
Right.
they're all sinners. Get over it. I was like, no, you don't understand. I was made this way. This isn't something that I grew up and said, hey, you didn't love me. You know, you didn't give me a pony. I'm not a victim here. It's not looking for pity. It's like saying, like, literally, I was born to receive a certain kind of love, and I didn't get it from him. So then I left the front door of the house open for other fathers to come in. Hopefully one of them would go like, I love you. And they didn't.
No.
And the ones that did, they weren't my actual father. So that then reveals the kind of like, again, that insatiable hunger that can't be filled, because there's only one person that could have given it to you, your actual father, and he didn't. And so I have my spiritual father, Marco, and he loves me unconditionally, but he's still not my blood. He's not my flesh. So I have my Kairos father in Mexico, but I have my Chronos father in the ground. And there's that push and pull then, like you said, of my heavenly father, and then how that love comes to me through my spiritual father. And then I have my earthly father, and how that love never came to me through my earthly father, because he wasn't a reflection of my heavenly father. So when I converted, I couldn't pray the Lord's Prayer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Except when I did, I was angry.
Right.
Because I knew I didn't believe it. And I was really angry at God for being like my dad. Versus, no, you're lost in the woods, kid. I'm not like your dad. But that's all you can see, because that's what you know. That's what your focus is on, right? It's like blaming your parents for your alcoholism. It's like, well, were they there when you were drinking after you left home? Well, no. Well, then it's not their fault, is it? He wasn't there force feeding you alcohol. You made a choice. So you have to learn in sobriety to stop blaming other people for your choices. And then you go, oh, yeah, it turns out at bottom, the enemy was me, right? The enemy is me.
Yeah.
So then the father comes along, the true father comes along and goes, hey, man, you're still here. You know why? Because I put people in your life to protect you. I put people in your life to lead you to sobriety. I put people in your life to father you. It's just that you were so focused on not understanding your own actions, thinking you had things figured out, that you couldn't see that I was putting people in front of you. So you just kept pushing them out of the way, like face palming them, right?
Right.
And then even after you were brought into the faith, even after I gave you eyes to see, you were still face palming these people because you're still feral. And that's the art of failure thing, is you know it, but yet there's nothing you can do to control that. You can't stop yourself from doing that. And then you can say, okay, today I'm here. Yeah, today. But in 5 years, you're going to look back and go, man, I'm sorry I facepalmed you 5 years ago. I thought I had figured out, because I had figured out the last thing. And so you're always trampling people. You're the boar in the vineyard your whole life through. Everything that comes out of your heart's evil all the days of your life. And yet in faith, you go back to your father and say, can you forgive me for this too? He's like, I already did before you even asked. That's the actual prodigal. Before you could even ask, he's forgiven you. Well, how many times? 7 times 77. And if you start doing the math, you're back in the pig trough.
Yeah, that's the hardest part.
Sacrificial theology is pig trough theology.
Because and the story itself rejects sacrificial. Like, make me one of your hired servants.
Yeah,
like,
right.
His confession is somehow a sacrifice.
Treat
of
me
his
as a
own
commodity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And the father says none of that.
Yep.
Like, here's the ring, here's the shoes. We're gonna have a feast.
Right.
I mean, in a transactional sense, if you approach it that way, it's absurd.
Right.
He deserves none of that.
Right.
But that's the whole point, isn't it?
I was talking with my son about this. So Altman, he recently had this lecture.
Sam Altman.
Yeah. AI.
ChatGPT.
He said, we think human intelligence in general is a utility, just like electricity and plumbing and so forth. Intelligence is a commodity, a utility. And in 20 years, in 10 years, people will pay us. This is what AI actually is. He basically said what his plan is. AI is going to replace our intelligence so that they can sell us intelligence as a utility. And so you'll pay for it the same way you pay for electric and trash pickup and stuff. Because Sam Altman doesn't understand the first thing about human nature.
No.
And he just proved it. And so I don't fear him in the least, because he doesn't understand human nature. He doesn't understand intelligence at all, because he actually thinks that we're commodities. That is, he is a sacrificial theologian. Peter Thiel is the Antichrist, and Antichrist because he doesn't understand human nature.
No, he writes about the Antichrist and he
Exactly.
lectures about it.
Yeah, if I write about it, what about Bob, right? If I fake it, that means I don't have it. And so in the end, Peter Thiel will become the Antichrist, an Antichrist, not the, but an Antichrist. The spirit of Antichrist is in him already, because Peter Thiel thinks that everything is sacrificial. And if we all just sacrifice, we will all be fed and we'll all be full. And there's nothing that proves you don't understand human nature faster and more clearly than sacrificial theology. If we just do this, it's like we have 66 books that prove that doesn't work,
Right.
and never has.
Right. Yeah, if you approach God sacrificially, you end up, consumed by fire.
100%. Right.
Yourself. You become the sacrifice.
Correct. In the end, yeah, like you said, Geneva rejects Calvin, even though he's the architect of this society.
I mean, it's Cain, right? Cain off with his sacrifice. Right. We don't have to get into all the details there.
Well, it's Luther being accused of not being Lutheran enough by his students.
Yeah, right.
Some of his students saying, like, you're too Catholic, or you're not Catholic enough. It's like, so you're out Luthering Luther now. Oh, I got it. Okay. You're better than he is. Got it.
Right. And so that performance anxiety comes
100%.
from sacrificial living rather than
absolutely
sacramental.
Will they like it? That's affirmation, not blessing.
Right.
Affirmation. Will they like me? Will I get an A? Will they agree with me?
Have I done enough?
Yeah. Have I done enough? Versus blessing is eat. Why? Because I fed you. Why'd you do that? Because I love you. Well, what do I have to do? Nothing. Just eat. Well, I don't want to eat. Then don't. Like we say, right? We have the Lord's Supper every Sunday, but you don't have to come if you don't have a need. Unfortunately, I have a need, and my family has a need.
You say that?
Yeah, I do. When people ask, like, why do we have it every Sunday? I'm like, because I have a need. Like, there are people who need it.
But I mean, you don't have to come if you don't need it.
No, I tell people all the time. I'm like, you don't have to come if you don't need it.
Right. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek, though.
Of course it is, because it's the backspin of the gospel.
Right. What do you mean I don't need it?
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of a do not pass this question point in our conversation, because nothing good's going to come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
But it's true. If you don't need it, don't take it.
What's the airspeed of an unladen swallow?
Exactly. That's right. That's right. That's the
African
second
or
question.
European?
Yeah. That's the only question I ask people at the rail if they come for communion. I don't know them.
What's your favorite color?
That's right.
What is your favorite color?
That's right. If you can't answer my question 3, you don't get to come to communion at St. John's. So be prepared.
Wait, what are the
be
3
prepared.
questions?
That's right.
It's from the bridge.
Yellow? No, blue. No, wait. But no, this is the thing, is that, again, are you a doorkeeper or are you a table waiter? Are you a gift giver or are you a receipt writer? As I say, on the right hand on the pulpit, I have a post-it that says, it's not about you. And then on the left side of the pulpit, it says you're a shepherd, not a shot caller. It's not my job to determine who lives and dies today.
Nope.
I'm a shepherd. My job is to get you into the barn, take you out and feed you and get you back in the barn. Well, we're already in the barn and the food's here in the barn, so I don't have to, my job's really easy, actually.
Yeah.
I never have to take you to a higher elevation to find food. And I don't have to worry about the wolves as long as I don't open the door to them.
I think there's so little, though, not just amongst pastors. I mean, certainly we feel it acutely. You're describing it there. But even just amongst Christians in general, of the sodas est, it's enough.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Yeah.
Because we're so performance driven.
Yeah.
Metrics and
Of course.
analytics and numbers and monies. And
Yeah, that's the world we live in.
and we have, there's performance evaluations even for pastors, I suppose.
So
It happens.
stupid.
Well,
I have my performance evaluation every Sunday.
I tell people all the time. It's like I have failed you in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind
you don't even know, by the
that
way.
you don't even know. I don't mind you reminding me.
Yeah.
Not of past failures that you've forgiven,
Mm-hmm.
but if there's a current neglect, if there's something missing, that truly God has given me to do for you,
Yeah.
tell me, because I'm blind. I have a hardened heart. I don't see things.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's a performance evaluation, but it's real time. It's not. But what we usually find is past performance predicting future behavior, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
but that's not the life of Christ,
Right.
because the past is forgiven.
Right.
So and you don't know the future. Only
Right.
He has
Again,
that in His hand.
All psychology proves is that psychology can track certain behavioral patterns in people. That's all it proves. It proves itself. It doesn't prove any higher truth. It doesn't prove the meaning of anything. It just proves that it can
in certain
do what it
aspects of
says.
life, in in marketing behavior,
Sure.
in financial markets.
Yeah. But then the anthropologist comes along and laughs in their face and goes, dude, you don't understand anything. And then anthropology proves why anthropology works, because it tracks human behavior across cultures. And, you're like, yeah, you proved yourself, but you haven't proved the meaning of these things. You still haven't answered the question, right? Oh, red, white, and blue are, okay, great. What does it mean? Well, the collective unconscious proves that X, Y, Z happens, and therefore, it's like, that's not the meaning of the thing. You're just explaining. You're not actually telling me the meaning.
There's no
I'm
why.
just going to go ask
There's
the shaman.
no why. There's just what.
The shaman will tell me the meaning.
Yeah,
He gets it.
Yeah, it's all what and how.
Yeah, it's not why. I need to know the why. That's the meaning question. The meaning question is always the why question. Why is this happening?
And in fairness, it's not always revealed.
Correct. I preached on this last night. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's hard for folks, because they're like, well, you say the why matters, but then you don't always give it. And I'm like, I don't always know it.
Yeah. Well, I told you about this, that for a couple of years now I've been asking, like, where are you leading me? Everyone's upset with me at church, and I'm being led somewhere, and I don't know what's happening, and I just, like, please forgive me. I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
And I come out the other side of it right now anyways, and it is, okay, 2020 and 2021 was, we need you to fight for us, pastor. We need you to be a shield for us. We need you to lead the charge. We need that guy. We need you to point and be prophetic and speak the truth. Great. And then the fallout was, pastor, we need comfort. Like, we're just so exhausted. We need comfort. And I was like, okay, what comes next? I don't know. And now all my sermons, all the texts are, you're going to preach on healing. I'm like, oh, of course. Of course I'm going to preach on healing, because people are dying now.
That's where you are now. Yeah.
Yeah. People are dying, not only from the thing, but
well,
they're
that's also why I was kind of rejecting the idea of, always standing in judgment of the past, because well, one, you can't change it, but also, like, that's what needed to be said then. I don't know why. You don't understand
your own actions.
I don't know. Yeah. I didn't know it then. I didn't understand it then.
Yeah.
It was appropriate then.
Right.
But today,
well, we have a whole generation aging out now, like dying and aging out, the boomers. So they need to talk. They need talk of healing, like physical and spiritual.
Right.
We have the Gen Xers now who are like, you're the elders of the village. Give us wisdom. And we're like, leave us alone. Like, you didn't want to have anything to do with us, and now all of a sudden you want us to, like, give you wisdom.
Right.
It's like, I can't even retire. Like, here's the wisdom. Don't trust the government. That's my wisdom.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not much, but it is something.
Right. And then you have the millennials who are like, we're just confused. We don't, like, what do we do? Right. And it's like, no, what the one true question is still, this is the thing. If it's true, it's consistent across generations. It's universally true.
Right.
To be true, it has to be consistent. And the one truth is always the same, which is, I need to be healed. Can you heal me?
Right.
And the answer is, I can't, but I know a guy. I know a guy, and he's got the medicine, right? He can doctor you. Well, what does that look like? It doesn't actually look like pharmaceutical commercials, right? It may produce blindness, rectal bleeding, and cannibalism, right?
Don't listen too closely to the fine print.
Versus, no, the real medicine comes to you in suffering. It comes to you when you're lost in the forest. It's in the wilderness wanderings that you receive the medicine of immortality. The manna was in the wilderness. And that message, the gospel, the honey from the lion's side, is the only medicine that I know that can heal you. Not just now, but in the future. And he may, and I know this is hard, he may sit with you as you die and say, no, you have to die now. Why? Because it's time to come home. And this is the door. And it's going to hurt. Because again, death isn't painful, dying is.
Yeah.
And John the Baptist was blessed in the sense that he had his head chopped off. It was just a moment, and he's just in the resurrection. Versus the wasting disease, like Jacob begging to die constantly when he's in Egypt.
Right.
That's just wasting away. And there is that's the tension. Like the hub that holds everything together, there's still, one of those spokes is still the tension of death being the last enemy. And it is an enemy. Make no doubt about that. And Hades and hell are personalities. They are actual gods. They're fallen angels. They're not places. They're actual fallen fallen angels. And God has to overcome those gods so that we can be free to live and be whole. So in the physical sense, in the chronos sense, we get the taste of the resurrection. We get a foretaste of the feast to come. But in the teleological, the kairotic sense, everything that you need is already there on the table waiting for you on Sunday,
right,
or Wednesday, or whenever it happens. And the pastor is charged with holding that tension between the chronological and the kairos, the kairotic, and not to let them slip. Because there's going to be times when you have to stand up and go, okay, enough, we're not playing anymore. He's dead. He's risen. This is the way this works. And then there's other times when you can say, hey, we're going to not sing the Alleluias because we're going to be a part of this big drama. That's okay too. But when God comes and says, okay, here's how I'm going to encounter you today. Here's how we're going to do this. Again, you're just along for the ride. That's how this works.
Right.
Which for me, leaning into the mystery, like, being a numbskull, being a dumb skull, as we joked about yesterday, that's actually where the childlike faith starts. Like, the mystery is actually the richest when you're just like, I'm dumb, I'm numb.
I don't understand myself. I don't understand you. I don't understand
exactly.
what's going on.
Oh, the freedom in that, the joy of waking up in the morning and being like, I have no control over anything that's happening or will happen today.
Yeah.
I'm just along for the ride.
It's got to be a firstborn thing, firstborn male.
Yeah, it could be.
Because that drives me. And
yeah.
You too. It's just, it's fear of loss and disappointment, but it's also power, control, security.
For sure. Being the rescuer personality.
Right.
The fixer.
But also, the fixer, but also the director.
Right. Which is, by the way, a grace that, to take a serious Bly's point about you don't become a man until your father dies. What a grace that I'm in this place in my life in this season where I'm saying it's all mystery. I'm not in control. It's all gift. Because then when you're dealing with stuff that are matters of life and death, and people are looking at you going, what do we do? Tell us what to do. You're the patriarch now. And you're like, what do you want to do? I'm comfortable with whatever you want to do. What have you been given? You're a gift to me. I said this to my aunt. I'm like, you're such a blessing to my father because he didn't want to have anything to do with me or my brother. And yet he let you take him to his appointments and take care of his checkbook for him and, take care of the house. I'm like, you're a gift. You're a gift to me right now for doing all these things. You're such a blessing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because again, unless I'm full, I can't give. But I'm full. So
But that wasn't a transactional thing, like we were saying before.
Right. No, 5 years ago, it would have been more transactional. Because I still would have been in myself being like, no, I'm in charge. I got to do this. This is about me. Versus, I'm fine.
I mean, you are using some of the language of von Schenk, but not in matters of the sacrament or of the cross.
Correct.
I think that's the other issue.
It's all directional. Yeah, it's all
Right.
directional. It's orientation.
This is always the problem with the will too. It's like it matters below.
Right.
Choices, yes.
Right.
It matters above, no. And we don't keep each thing in its, we don't keep it where it belongs.
Well, these can't be categorical because
there's no transactional.
I don't really have any control over things below either.
You don't want to have a transactional God.
And not only do I not have control, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't need it.
No, and that's what Christian freedom looks like, is
Right.
you don't have control.
So when someone comes to me, a child, a spouse, a parishioner, somebody goes, hey, what do I do? Well, what are you doing? Let's just suss it out. What does your gut tell you, right? What's happening? Let's look at what's happening. Rather than me tell you, you tell me. And I bet you in there is the answer. It's just that you're so in the moment, you're so inside that you can't step out of it to go, oh, there it is right there.
Yeah. When I said this to you, like, I mean, sometimes it takes years or years before you can speak objectively, right? Where you can say, okay, now I understand why I said or did what I did.
Correct. Right.
I didn't then, but now I know.
And even then you're like, I mean, do I though? Do I know? No. I just have perspective. It's not even like I know, like, oh, this is it. Like I said, I was taught never tell people the one true answer to anything because there is no one true answer. There's multiple meanings. And so it's not a question of me telling the Holy Spirit, hey, by the way, if it's true for me, it's true for her. No, the Holy Spirit will determine that.
Yeah.
It is the body of Christ, whether you believe it is or not. So I can say that, but I can't tell you how it's going to change you. I have no idea. I'm not God. I'm just the person delivering the meal. I'm not the chef. I'm not the one who grew it. I'm not the one who, I did none of those things. I'm just literally giving you the food you ordered. That's it. And whatever happens to you, that's God's will. That's Christ. That's the Holy Spirit at work in you.
Right.
And if you come to me and ask, like, I don't know what the Holy Spirit's doing in my life, neither do I. So let's talk. Let's have a holy conversation. That's Luther in the Schmalkald articles on the gospel, the fourth use of the gospel.
I mean, we have certain things that we know.
The mutual consolation and comfort of the saints. That's coffee talk.
That he has promised to accomplish.
Right.
So we can speak to those directly.
And here's the wild thing. Sometimes God seals my mouth and says, you're not going to speak to her. You're going to pray with her. You're going to cry with her, but you're not going to tell her the meaning because I'm not going to give it to you. It's not for you to know. And that's the mystery of it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that down the road she doesn't talk to grandma, or she talks to her coworker, or she talks to her child, and the child is given to tell
Yeah.
her.
A dreamer, right?
Right, exactly. But rather, again, we're being dreamed by God. We're not dreaming up things as we go.
No.
That's the great turn, is God's doing the doing, I'm not. Whereas Schenk wants to turn from God doing the doing to, now you do likewise. Go and do likewise. And like I said, that leads to hell and despair. That's all that leads to.
Yeah, and that would be a whole nother conversation to talk about, the way that we in our confession speak of the sanctified life.
Yes.
Who's the agent? Who's the doer?
Correct.
Right.
Right.
And how it's misread. I mean, I just think people don't read it in
Right.
the way of the Scripture. So
No. I think in the end, what sanctification does is it turns on you and says, look what I've done. Isn't it good? And you're like, it's so good.
it becomes selfish. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm so undeserving of this, though. Like, why are you, like, the more good you do for me, the worse I feel. I think that's the thing that we don't want to admit as Christians, is that sanctification feels an awful lot like, look what I did. And you're like, oh, man, really?
Yeah.
Like, you did all this, and I've actually fought against that the whole time. I've done the opposite of that, where for Von Schenk, you'd be like, well, you're not a Christian then if you're not working with him. If you're not at least putting forth your best foot. And I know this because we have peers that say this.
Sure.
And they love Von Schenk, and they love Aulin. And I'm like, no, you're not Lutheran at this point. You rejected the Scriptures and our confession.
Well, that's why when we read through it, I pointed out when he just kind of dropped little catechism hints.
Yeah.
And those are like bona fides or whatever.
Yeah.
You say, look, I'm still Lutheran.
Norman MacLean in The River Runs Through It quotes the Geneva Catechism a lot because his father was a Presbyterian minister. But he's not a Christian. But it's literally in his DNA. It's like he was raised in it, so he can't escape from the language of it. It forms his worldview. It does. But it doesn't mean he goes to church every Sunday. Maybe he was a Christian at the end of his life. I'm not going to speak for him, but at least, when he's writing, he's not writing as a Christian writing a story about his brother and his death. And he's writing from the perspective of, like, this is my life, and the catechism formed a lot of my life.
Yeah.
So I can't write without the coming out.
Right. But it does seem to be an accessory in what we heard.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, almost the Scripture is an accessory to the kind of, what do you call it? Like the psychological point that he's trying to make.
Yeah, right.
So that's unfortunate.
And that's the other thing. Sacrificial, not only the language of sacrifice, but ultimately the act of sacrifice is internalized. You have to do something. Versus sacramentals, it's all outside of you. It's all
Make it
coming
personal.
to you.
Make it
it's all
personal.
occurring to you.
Yeah.
It's personal in the sense that my one true love has come at last. And now my life is a dream.
I keep having a song in my head. Life is a dream.
Yeah. If it's about Jesus, yeah, perfect. Yeah.
So we didn't say it, but it's probably worth at least thinking about. This is not how you approach preaching on Good Friday.
Please don't. Please don't.
If only you actually knew what he actually did on the
As
cross.
an atheist, I would mock these sermons.
I think so. So.
As an atheist. Not now. I don't do it now, of course.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to preach on Good Friday. That's still...
I have no idea. I know I'm going to muck it up because we put way too much pressure on ourselves to be super stupendous on Good Friday and Easter.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly hard to say something because you want to do the same thing Von Schenk wanted to do with his writing.
You do default to Von Schenk.
You want to captivate people. You want to get their attention.
You want them to cry. You really want to move them. You really do.
Yeah, not in a sentimental way either.
As I said, right? If you got to make them laugh, you got to make them cry, you got to make them sigh, and then the check, it just keeps going up. Make them laugh, make them cry, make them sigh.
Got to pay the bills.
Yep, that's all I said about the church ladies. Got to make them laugh, got to make them cry, got to make them sigh.
Oh, pastor.
Well, that's what they were raised on. That's what they like. And I'm like,
I
it's fine. We can talk about, again, we're forgiven. And because we're forgiven, we can talk about it out loud and we can laugh at ourselves and say, yeah, there is a time to make you, laugh and cry and sigh. It's, that's great. That's okay. But let's laugh at it because it's kind of fun to laugh at ourselves and be like, is that really what this is all about though? No, of course it's not. And you know too.
Yeah.
So it's great that your criteria is emotionalism, but it doesn't have to be that way. Again, everything's exciting and novel for like 6 months. And then it just becomes normal. Now what? Now what do we do after that? Well, we have to figure out a new form of sacrifice versus if it's a gift and every day is Christmas, well, I like Christmas every day. I like gifts. And then, by the way, I have so many gifts now that my house can't handle it. So I'm going to start giving my gifts to other people that don't have them. I don't know if you do that. My kids do that every winter, where they go through their stuff and they pick out their toys
No,
and
we
stuffed
haven't done
animals
that.
and
Yeah, I
donate
know
them.
we talked about it. Yeah.
Because it's like, it's shattering when my children find out that there's children that don't have Christmas presents. It shatters them. And usually they figure it out like 5 or 6. And then like, wait, so somebody doesn't get like a teddy bear or a stuffed animal or a doll? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's not right. I'm like, it's not right. So what are we going to do about that? And the kids figure it out real fast, right? Because again, they just look at all their stuff and they're like, but I love all my stuff. I'm like, yeah, but you haven't played with that doll in like a year. And she's like, we can give that one away. And of course, you have to sweeten it with the old Adam, which is, the more you give away, the more you get. To whom much is given, much is... Like if you give away a doll, maybe you'll get a new doll. See how that works? So again, no matter how sanctified you may be, no matter how heaven-focused you are, once you print receipts, it does sweeten the deal for the old Adam. It's just the way we're wired. And again, you can laugh at that in forgiveness. You can't laugh at that if the expectation is, do you understand? Now, aren't you going to do something about it?
Yeah. Ugh. Were you there when they crucified your Lord?
Nope. Didn't ask him to. Don't care that he did. Now what?
What are you going to do with that?
That's not very pious. I know, isn't it though?
No. No.
Jacob, why are you wrestling with the angel of the Lord? It's so impious.
Do you even know what you're doing? Nope.
Nope.
Didn't know what his name was.
I thought I had a pretty good idea at the time. Turns out I was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he said,
Judah, do you know what you're doing with Tamar? Absolutely. We're not going to talk about it in public. And Tamar's like, we are absolutely talking about this in public.
Oh yeah, she did. Here's his ring and his
exactly.
and his staff and whatever.
So good. It's so good. And yet she is a saint, Tamar.
Yep.
A saint. And Judah is too, by the way.
Yeah.
He is the grandfather of our Savior.
I mean, in fairness, his sons were kind of deadbeat, but
Well, again, if you thought Judah was bad, you should meet his kids. Yeah, that's always the offload.
yeah.
So, again, it's all gift. You are forgiven for Christ's sake. The blood has been shed. The ground has been sanctified. The king is healed. And you are healed through his wounding. So what is there left to do? Go get the grail, baby. It's right there on the table.
That's a great way to end it. Go get the grail, baby.
There you go. Good.
Music.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. God give you 10,000 blessings today, and his angels guide you on your way. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Thank you for supporting 1517. Go, again, pre-order Scott Keith's book, Being Family.
Buy cases of 10, you get a discount.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, read it at church.
We're going to use it
or
for
your
our
women's
family,
group to read
our
it.
family
Fantastic.
Group. Yep.
We need more of that stuff, by the way. We need more men reading men's stuff and women reading women's stuff and emphasizing that actually in the churches. Biblical manhood, biblical womanhood, biblical family.
Yep.
We pray it, right, that we might live in harmony according to God's will. It's in the daily prayers for families.
Yep.
And so, yeah, go do all that. And again, it's all the stuff on the website. Gospel Freedom is there for you too. Otherwise, we'll see you again next week, either for Lunch in the Resurrection or for a brand new episode.
Next week's not Holy Week yet, so
Not quite.
same schedule,
Good.
or whatever schedule. I don't know.
It doesn't matter to us. I think we did a Good Friday episode last year, didn't we?
Did we?
I think we might have.
Yeah, I've serviced it too. So
Everyone leaves us alone because we're so busy. So
I do the afternoon, not terrible, but still afternoon.
Okay.
Because I just have a thing.
I know you do.
It's noon to 3.
I know. We have the Saturday vigil too, which I wish we could have, but I just can't.
I do it with another church.
Oh wait, I did do it last year, and I had 30 people show up. What am I talking about?
Oh, then
we
you got to
do
do
the
it
Saturday
again.
vigil.
You got to do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Actually, more people showed up on Saturday than showed up for Monday, Thursday.
Huh.
And I was like, what is happening? Because I'm like, we're just going to read and pray. And everyone showed up. I'm like, really? For reading and prayer?
It's good, it is good to do all those readings. Yeah.
Well, it's nice to just be meditative, right? Just to be quiet and be meditative.
Yeah, you could take a little pause.
Yeah.
Do a little
like
prayer.
I said, and we can, end it whenever, but thanks to everybody on the live stream too. The whole thing about preaching on the grail and healing is really producing some stuff. Like, stuff is coming out. Like, people are talking to me. And it's wild. Because I know when I'm preaching it, like, okay, something's happening. And I'm just riding this. But no, the language of healing, and not only like, pray for healing, but also the explanation of like, why hasn't healing come yet?
Right.
Then the safety net of the Grail legend has given me freedom to just say it, because I have a narrative backdrop now outside of the scriptures to be like, here's a way of framing this in language that is, mythic for sure, mysterious, but also very grounded in very practical everyday questions, such as like, you can never go home again, and Like, what happens when you encounter these kinds of people in the world, and what does it mean to ride another man's horse? And you've had the Grail, but you passed it over, kind of things. Like, we all understand that once it's put in the language of your place and your time, your people. And it's great because I prayed for this forever, because I hate therapeutic sermons. I hate them.
Right. But you still, but you know that, well, healing is needed for
It
one
is,
thing.
but I also hate, well, you'll be healed in heaven. It's spiritual healing. I'm like, nowhere in the Gospels did Jesus pass over physical needs.
Right.
Nowhere. No, he does say right, that in heaven, you know, but he also heals the blind and cures leprosy. And we're like, well, that was unique. That's not really what he's there for. I'm like, then why does he tell us to pray for that? He specifically tells us, pray for healing. Pray, and your Father who in heaven who hears you will come and give it to you. Like, I'm with you always. Like, he heals Naaman before he even shows up.
Right.
Like, you know? And so I think we avoid it because, again, as modern rationalists, we don't believe it. And I think that's one of the sore wounds that we just don't want to address, which is, I'm wounded and bleeding, but I don't want to talk about it because I don't believe God actually heals people.
Right.
Well, then, is this a fairy tale to you? Is your faith a fairy tale?
Pretty much
Yeah.
for some people. Yeah.
Well, ultimately it is, well, when I die, I'll be at peace. I'm like, again, that's just hell and despair. That's what that is.
You just got to hold on long enough to make it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's well, that's in Pink Floyd The Wall, right? The British way.
Mm-hmm.
Silent, what is it? Holding on in silent resignation is the British way or English way.
That's
And
on
it's
the
like-
wall. That's in Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, you're right. Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah.
In it's on the second
Is
side.
Is it time?
No, it's after
Holding
time.
on in silent desperation is
Yes,
the
yeah.
English way. The
Time
song
comes
is
right. That's
over.
right before time starts.
Yeah, thought I had something more to say.
It's
And
right
then
before
tick, tick,
time,
tick,
and then the
the great gig
no
in the
no
sky.
no, I got it wrong. Oh, somebody's gonna hate me.
I know. We're just guessing, even though we're on the internet.
Yeah, I know. I have the next song in my head too. I could look it up, but that would be
Holding on in silent desperation, I believe.
is the
Holding on
English
in
way.
Silent.
No, that's right. You got the quote right.
Yeah. Desperation is the English way.
Anyway,
No, I don't know. No, I don't want to know what it means. It's time. Yeah, it's time.
oh, it's later on in time. That's
Mhm,
right.
It's time.
Well, it depends on how you split the track. Sometimes they split the track.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, on the CD they do.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it clips over in the CD.
There's no break in the song. It just goes on to the next song.
Yeah, it goes right tick tock tick tock tick tock tick tock.
No,
and then kind of-
that's not how it goes. But that's okay.
No,
It's
at the
all-
end, I'm saying, though, at the end, the bass comes back in, that TikTok of the bass comes back in, and then she comes in with the solo.
because it's
So
any
she's
color
just
you
kinda-
like. And
Yeah,
then,
that's the song we're trying to think of. Yeah, any color you like. Mm-hmm.
that's instrumental.
Yeah.
Us and them. No, then it switches over to us and them, right? No, I don't know where it is. Whatever it is.
Well, there's the
This is-
sax solo. I'm sorry, not the bass solo. There's a sax solo there that kind of drifts into her voice, and that drifts.
The
By the way,
album
folks,
is blurring
if
together in
anybody's
my
still
head.
listening, this is the kind of conversations, the deep conversations Gillespie and I have when
Oh
we're.
no, my brain.
But, anyways, yeah. No, I think of things like that. I'm like, I'm alive to listen to Ode to Joy by Beethoven. I get to listen to Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd. I'm like, what a great time to live. I get to actually see these things and hear these things.
So
and
it's in
experience these
time, and then it
things.
goes right in. Yeah, it's at the end of time. That's
Mhm.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a Reddit on this.
Mm.
What does the English way mean in time?
Well, he tells you
I
right before
assume-
that.
I assume it means that people's loss of time was very common and happened daily, and they were referring to the English way as a common situation. Oh my gosh.
Holding on in quiet desperation is predicate the
Yes.
English way. Like,
It most likely stems from the stereotype that the English, especially the kind of English the members of the Floyd are, middle-class Southern and stiff, upper lip,
Yep.
are often reserved about their feelings and appear to be stoic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Listen to the Clash.
So
Listen to
there-
the Sex Pistols.
The
You'll
English
get it.
way is to experience emotional distress is to do it quietly with no
There we go.
indication that you
So
are
very
under
Midwestern,
emotional
actually. Yes.
strain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you,
it could
Reddit.
be worse. Could be worse.
Thank you, Reddit. That's so
Yep.
good.
So, anyways, it's taco time.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad we recorded today. That's better
Yeah. Yeah.
than trying to delay it. We can't do it at a different time. It just doesn't work right.
I don't think so. Yeah. I need that kind of lucidity of the morning that leads into my hungriness for food.
Yeah. Well, you can call it a fast if you want.
There we go. Yeah.
We were fasting, and now it's time for
Sounds
lunch.
good for me. Well, have fun tomorrow.
No, I just have a little meeting. Then we gotta put everything back in the church because we had to take it all out to clean the carpet. We've never cleaned the carpet in there.
Wow.
20 years probably. 30
You
years.
check out the pews?
No, the pews
Okay.
have hardwood underneath.
Okay.
Just the carpet runners. So
Oh,
it's,
right.
It's all getting cleaned
That's right.
for Easter.
Look at me.
asked-
I was actually in your church, and I can't remember the floor plan.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's all good. All right, I'm gonna click